Tonight, there is nowhere you need to be. Nothing you need to solve. The day is over, and the night has gently wrapped the world in quiet. All you have to do is follow the soft glow of a single lantern. The evening had settled over the old city with a calm that felt almost magical. The streets were empty, washed in the gentle silver light of the moon. A cool breeze carried the comforting scent of rain-soaked stone, blooming jasmine, and old wooden doors that had stood for generations. You walked slowly, without any destination in mind. There was no rush. No noise. Only the quiet rhythm of your footsteps echoing along the narrow cobblestone street. Above you, warm golden lights glowed behind old windows. Somewhere in the distance, a grandfather clock softly chimed 12 gentle notes. Midnight had arrived. Yet instead of making the city feel darker, it somehow made everything feel softer. As though the world itself had decided to whisper. You noticed something unusual. A lantern. It rested on a small iron post at the corner of an alley you were certain had never been there before. Its flame did not flicker. Instead, it glowed with a steady amber warmth, almost as if it were patiently waiting. Waiting for someone. Waiting for you. Without thinking, you stepped closer. The alley was narrow but welcoming. Old ivy climbed the brick walls. Tiny white flowers bloomed between the stones. Every step seemed quieter than the last. The sounds of the city slowly disappeared behind you until only the gentle breeze remained. Somewhere nearby, pages softly turned. Not by wind, but almost as if someone, somewhere, was peacefully reading. You smiled without realizing it. The sound felt comforting. Safe. The lantern continued glowing ahead, guiding you deeper into the hidden passage. You began to notice small details. An antique mailbox covered in vines. A tiny wooden bench beneath a flowering tree. A sleeping cat curled comfortably beside a flower pot, barely opening one eye before drifting peacefully back to sleep. Nothing here seemed hurried. Nothing asked anything of you. It simply welcomed you. The air grew warmer. The scent changed. Fresh rain slowly gave way to something even more familiar. Old books. Leather covers. A hint of cedar wood. Freshly brewed tea. It was impossible to explain why these scents felt like home. Yet somehow, they did. Far ahead, a faint golden light shimmered between the buildings. As you approached, the alley gently widened into a small hidden square. It was unlike anything you had ever seen. Tiny lanterns floated lazily through the air. Flowers climbed every balcony. Soft ivy covered ancient stone walls. Everything glowed beneath the moonlight. And standing quietly at the center of the square was a little bookshop. Its windows glowed with warm amber light. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling. Thousands of books rested peacefully inside. Above the wooden door hung a small hand-painted sign. It simply read, "Open only after midnight." The words felt less like a rule, and more like an invitation. The windows reflected the stars above. Inside, somewhere beyond the glass, someone slowly placed another log onto a crackling fireplace. The fire answered with a soft pop. A kettle quietly whistled. You could almost imagine a comfortable chair waiting beside the fire. Perhaps with a blanket. Perhaps with a story that had been waiting many years to meet exactly the right reader. You stood silently before the old wooden door. The brass handle shone softly beneath the lantern light. It looked worn by countless gentle hands, yet somehow untouched by time. The little bell above the doorway remained perfectly still. No wind disturbed it. Everything seemed to pause, even the night itself. Then, without anyone touching it, the door slowly opened. Not with a creak, not with surprise, but with the quiet grace of an old friend welcoming you home after a very long journey. Warm golden light spilled gently onto the stone path. The scent of old pages became richer. Fresh tea, cinnamon, vanilla, polished oak. 1,000 forgotten stories resting peacefully together. You took one slow breath, then another. There was no reason to hurry. Tonight, the world outside could wait. The hidden bookshop had finally found its next visitor. And somewhere inside, a story was already waiting to begin. The moment you step through the doorway, the world behind you becomes wonderfully quiet. Not because it disappears, but because it gently fades into the distance, like the last notes of a favorite melody drifting across the evening air. The wooden door closes softly behind you. A tiny brass bell above it gives a single, delicate chime. Its sound is warm and comforting, lingering for only a moment before melting into the peaceful silence. You pause. There is no reason to hurry. The bookshop seems to understand that. Before you stretches a narrow stone pathway, winding gently through rows of towering bookshelves. It doesn't feel like an ordinary floor at all. The smooth stones beneath your feet are softly polished, reflecting the warm glow of dozens of hanging lanterns. Some lanterns sway ever so slightly. Not because of the wind. There is no wind here. It almost feels as though the entire shop is breathing, slowly, peacefully, and without a single rush. The scent of cedar wood fills the air, mixed with old paper, fresh tea, a touch of vanilla, and somewhere, just enough cinnamon to remind you of quiet winter evenings beside a warm fireplace. You smile without realizing it. Everything here feels familiar, as though you have visited this place many years ago in a dream you had long forgotten. You begin walking. The shelves rise higher than you expected. Far higher. Their tops disappear into soft, golden shadows where tiny lights sparkle like distant stars. Thousands of books rest quietly in perfect order. None seem dusty. None appear forgotten. Each book looks as though it has been gently cared for, waiting patiently for exactly the right reader. You notice something unusual. There are no titles on the spines. Every cover is beautifully simple. Deep green, soft blue, rich burgundy, cream-colored linen, dark walnut leather. No words, no names, only quiet elegance. Curious, you reach toward one of them. Before your fingers touch the cover, a gentle voice whispers nearby. Not yet. The words are so soft they almost sound like the turning of a page. You look around. No one is there. Only the warm lantern light. Only endless shelves. Only silence. And somehow, the silence feels friendly. You continue along the winding pathway. As you walk, the shelves slowly begin to change. The books become larger. The lanterns glow a little brighter. Small potted plants appear between the shelves, their green leaves reaching lazily toward the warm light. Tiny white flowers bloom from old teacups placed on forgotten corners of wooden tables. A small wooden ladder rests against one shelf. Its steps are polished smooth from years of gentle use. Above it hangs an old clock. The hands do not move. Instead of numbers, tiny painted stars circle its face. Time, it seems, has chosen to rest here. You find yourself breathing more slowly. Each step feels lighter than the one before. Far ahead, the pathway curves around another shelf. As you turn the corner, the shop opens into a long hidden street unlike anything you have ever imagined. It looks almost like a village tucked safely inside the bookshop. Small wooden storefronts line both sides of the stone path. One window displays beautifully bound journals. Another holds glass bottles filled with glowing golden ink. A tiny bakery offers warm loaves of bread that somehow never grow cold. Beside it sits a peaceful tea room, where delicate porcelain cups wait upon lace-covered tables. No customers. No conversations. Only quiet invitation. Tiny lanterns hang overhead like floating stars. The ceiling is impossible to see. Instead, it resembles a peaceful night sky filled with slow-moving constellations. Every few moments, a single shooting star drifts silently above before fading into the darkness. You stop beside a wooden sign. Its painted letters read, "The Hidden Street." Below the words is another line. Every story begins with a peaceful walk. The message feels less like a sentence, more like gentle advice. You continue forward. As you pass each little shop, soft sounds surround you. A page quietly turning. A teacup resting gently upon a saucer. The faint crackle of the distant fireplace. The whisper of leaves brushing against one another. Each sound arrives slowly. Each sound fades peacefully. Nothing interrupts the calm. Nothing asks for your attention. The hidden street simply allows you to wander. Without expectation. Without destination. Without time. Near the end of the street stands another lantern. It is slightly brighter than the others. Beside it waits an old wooden archway covered in climbing ivy. Beyond the arch, you can just make out another room. Its shelves glow with a softer, deeper golden light. Somewhere beyond them, a single page turns by itself. Almost as though one special book has finally decided it is ready to be opened. You take one slow breath. Then another. The journey has only just begun. And the bookshop is quietly revealing its secrets. One peaceful step at a time. You remain beneath the ivy-covered archway for a quiet moment. The lantern beside you glows with a gentle amber light, casting soft shadows across the polished stone floor. Somewhere nearby, a kettle begins to hum, its peaceful melody blending with the distant crackle of a fireplace. The warmth in the air feels comforting. Not warm like a summer afternoon, but warm like a favorite blanket waiting on a quiet winter evening. You take another slow step forward. The room beyond the archway is unlike any place you have ever seen. Round bookshelves curve gently around the walls, reaching upward until they disappear into a ceiling filled with tiny golden lights. It almost feels as though the stars themselves have chosen to live indoors. Between the shelves stand comfortable armchairs upholstered in soft green velvet. Small reading lamps glow beside each chair. Blankets are folded neatly across the arms. Everything waits patiently. Nothing is out of place. A fireplace rests at the center of the room. Its flames dance lazily behind polished glass, filling the space with a gentle amber glow. Every now and then, a log settles quietly, releasing a soft crackle that feels more soothing than surprising. Beside the fireplace sits a small wooden table. On it rests a porcelain teapot, 2 delicate cups, and a tiny plate holding warm honey biscuits. Thin ribbons of steam rise peacefully from the teapot, as though someone had poured it only moments ago. Yet no one is there. Or so it seems. You slowly look around the room. Near the tallest bookshelf, a ladder begins to move. Not quickly. Not magically. Simply. Slowly. It glides along its rail with the calm rhythm of an old train arriving at a familiar station. When it finally stops, someone steps down. An elderly woman. She wears a long forest green cardigan that reaches almost to her ankles. Silver hair is gathered into a loose braid that rests over one shoulder. Tiny round glasses sit gently upon her nose. Her face carries the kind of smile that asks for nothing. The kind that makes you feel welcome before a single word is spoken. She pauses for a moment, holding an old leather-bound book against her chest. Then she gives a small nod. "As I hoped," she says softly. "You found your way." Her voice is quiet, gentle, almost like turning another page. You wonder how she knew you would come. But somehow, the question doesn't feel important. She seems to understand. Most people never notice the lantern. She smiles kindly. They are often in too much of a hurry. She walks toward the fireplace with slow, unhurried steps. Every movement feels calm. Every breath seems perfectly peaceful. She pours warm tea into the waiting cups. The soft fragrance of chamomile, honey, and lavender fills the room. She places one cup before the empty chair beside the fire. Then she quietly takes the other. "Please," she says, "sit for a while. There is always time for tea before the first story." You settle into the chair. The cushion is wonderfully soft. The blanket across your knees feels warm, as though it has been waiting just for you. Outside the tall windows, moonlight washes gently across climbing ivy. Tiny white flowers sway almost imperceptibly. No wind disturbs them. Only the quiet rhythm of the peaceful night. The woman lifts her teacup with both hands. "My name," she says, "is Evelyn. I have cared for this bookshop for longer than I can remember." She laughs softly. Perhaps even the books have forgotten. The sound is gentle, comforting, never loud. She gazes toward the endless shelves surrounding the room. People often believe this place is filled with books. She smiles. But that isn't entirely true. She looks back at you. This place is filled with memories. Every peaceful dream. Every forgotten hope. Every comforting moment someone wished to keep forever. They all become stories. Her words settle gently into the silence. No explanation feels necessary. Somehow, you understand. Evelyn finishes her tea and carefully places the cup upon its saucer. A tiny clock somewhere in the distance gives a single quiet chime. Not to measure time, only to remind the room that another peaceful moment has passed. She stands once more. "There is someone," she says with another gentle smile, "who has been waiting to meet you." She walks toward a small wooden door hidden behind one of the tallest bookshelves. The door is beautifully carved with vines, tiny stars, and sleeping birds. As Evelyn reaches for the brass handle, she pauses. Without looking back, she quietly says, "The stories always choose their readers. And tonight, I believe one has chosen you." The door slowly begins to open. A warm golden light spills into the room. Beyond it, another quiet wonder patiently waits. The small wooden door opened without a sound. Warm golden light drifted gently across the polished floor, as though the room beyond had been patiently waiting for your arrival. Evelyn stepped inside first. You followed at an unhurried pace. The air felt different here. It carried the comforting scent of aged parchment, cedar wood, warm vanilla, and something almost impossible to describe. It smelled like a favorite memory. A memory you could almost remember. The room was perfectly round. Shelves curved along every wall, rising high into a softly glowing ceiling where thousands of tiny lights shimmered like distant stars. Unlike the other rooms, every book here was wrapped in smooth linen cloth. No titles. No decorations. No colors beyond gentle shades of cream, pale blue, soft green, and warm brown. It was as though every story wished to remain a quiet secret until the perfect moment. In the center of the room stood a single oak table. Upon it rested only one object, a beautifully carved wooden box. Its surface was covered with delicate carvings of leaves, birds, moonflowers, and tiny winding rivers. Evelyn smiled. "This," she whispered, "is where every journey begins." She carefully opened the box. Inside rested an old brass key. It was small enough to fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. Its bow was shaped like an open book. Its shaft was decorated with tiny stars that caught the lantern light. You reached toward it slowly. The moment your fingers touched the cool brass, a gentle warmth spread through your hand. Not hot, not surprising, simply comforting. Almost like holding a familiar hand after a long journey. Evelyn nodded softly. It remembers kindness. She closed the box. Every visitor receives a different key, and every key opens only one story. You looked around the quiet room. So where is the lock? Evelyn's smile grew just a little wider. There isn't one. She invited you to walk beside her. Together you wandered through rows of silent shelves. The lanterns overhead glowed with a calm amber light, their warmth reflecting softly against polished wood. The only sound was your gentle footsteps. Then, something changed. One book shifted ever so slightly. Only a few inches. Almost too small to notice. You stopped. The book rested halfway out from the shelf, as though someone had quietly placed it there for you. Its linen cover was a soft midnight blue. Simple. Elegant. Untouched by dust. Without thinking, you reached for it. The brass key in your hand became slightly warmer. The moment the book rested in your hands, the lanterns above brightened ever so gently. Not suddenly, not dramatically, only enough to make the room feel even more welcoming. You carefully opened the cover. The pages were blank, completely blank. You turned another page. Still blank. Another. Nothing. You looked at Evelyn with quiet curiosity. She simply nodded. Keep turning. You continued. Slowly. Patiently. One page after another. Then, without warning, tiny golden letters began to appear. Not all at once. One word. Then another. As though invisible ink had finally awakened beneath the warm lantern light. The words formed a single sentence. Welcome home. Dear traveler. You smiled without realizing it. Your heartbeat remained calm. Your breathing slow. The room itself seemed to breathe with you. The pages continued filling themselves. Not quickly. Each line appeared one gentle word at a time. The story was not rushing. It wanted to be savored. It wanted every sentence to settle peacefully before the next one arrived. You realized something wonderful. The story was not describing a distant kingdom, or a forgotten hero, or an impossible adventure. It was describing you. Not your name, not your past, but the quiet feelings you carried inside. The afternoons you had watched rain against a window, the comfort of reading beneath a blanket, the happiness of hearing birds at sunrise, the peace of walking alone beneath autumn trees. Moments so small they were almost forgotten. Yet somehow, this book had remembered every one of them. Evelyn spoke softly. The books here never tell us who we should become. They simply remind us who we have always been. Her words settled gently into the silence. You turned another page. The golden letters continued their slow dance across the paper. Outside the tall windows, the moon climbed a little higher into the velvet sky. Tiny stars shimmered above the hidden bookshop. The fireplace crackled quietly somewhere beyond the room. Everything felt timeless, as though midnight itself had decided to pause. You closed the book gently against your chest. Its cover felt warm, comforting, almost alive. Evelyn smiled. I think, she whispered, your first story has finally found its reader, far beyond the shelves. A tiny silver bell rang once, somewhere deeper within the bookshop. Another door quietly unlocked, and the night invited you to continue. You hold the blue book gently against your chest. Its warmth lingers in your hands, as though the story inside is still quietly breathing. The tiny silver bell has fallen silent once more. The hidden bookshop seems to settle into an even deeper peace. Evelyn smiles. There is no need to hurry, she says softly. Every story enjoys being discovered slowly. She turns toward a narrow hallway illuminated by small lanterns hanging from the ceiling. Their golden light is gentle, never bright. Each lantern is shaped like a tiny glass teardrop, glowing as though it holds a little piece of moonlight inside. You follow her. Your footsteps make almost no sound upon the polished wooden floor. The air grows warmer with every step. Soon, a new fragrance begins to drift toward you. Fresh chamomile. wild honey, a touch of lavender, warm bread, vanilla, and the faint sweetness of cinnamon. The comforting scents wrap around you like a favorite blanket. At the end of the hallway stands a round wooden door. Its surface is carved with curling vines, delicate teacups, tiny flowers, and sleeping birds. Evelyn places her hand upon the brass handle. "The tea room," she whispers. "It is where even time comes to rest." The door opens quietly. A peaceful warmth welcomes you inside. The room is beautiful beyond words. Sunlight does not enter here. Only soft amber lanterns suspended from wooden beams above. The walls are lined with small shelves filled not with books, but with teapots. Hundreds of them. Some are porcelain painted with tiny blue flowers. Others are polished copper that glows softly in the lantern light. Some are carved from smooth wood. Others seem almost transparent, like delicate glass touched by morning frost. Each teapot is different. Each one waits patiently. In the center of the room stands a great round table made from ancient oak. Around it rest comfortable chairs with thick cushions and woven blankets folded neatly across each back. A fire burns quietly in a wide stone hearth. Its flames rise and fall lazily, filling the room with gentle warmth. No one speaks. No one needs to. The room itself seems to whisper, "You are safe here." Evelyn walks toward a small wooden cabinet. She carefully chooses a pale blue teapot decorated with tiny silver stars. "This one," she says with a smile, "is prepared only on peaceful nights." She pours hot water over fragrant herbs. Tiny curls of steam rise into the air, carrying scents that seem to soften every thought in your mind. Chamomile, lavender, a hint of sweet orange blossom. The aroma is calming, almost dreamlike. She pours the tea into 2 delicate porcelain cups. The liquid glows softly beneath the lantern light, like melted amber. You wrap both hands around the warm cup. Its gentle heat spreads through your fingers, through your wrists, into your shoulders. Every breath becomes slower. Every moment feels softer. Outside the tall windows, the moon hangs peacefully above the hidden garden. Tiny white flowers sway almost imperceptibly beneath silver light. A single owl glides silently across the sky before disappearing beyond the trees. Somewhere nearby, rain begins to fall. Not heavy rain, only a gentle shower. The soft rhythm against the windows blends perfectly with the quiet crackling of the fireplace. It sounds less like weather, and more like a lullaby. Evelyn takes a small sip of tea. Then she smiles. "Do you know why no clock in this bookshop keeps ordinary time?" You gently shake your head. She gazes toward the dancing fire. "Because stories are never measured by minutes. They are measured by peaceful moments." She lets the words settle into the quiet room. In the outside world, people count the hours. Here, we simply enjoy them. You look around once more. The lanterns sway almost invisibly. The rain continues its gentle song. Steam curls upward from your teacup. Everything feels wonderfully still. You realize something surprising. You cannot remember how long you have been here. A few minutes. An hour. Perhaps longer. And somehow, it doesn't matter. The hidden bookshop asks nothing from you except one simple thing: to slow down, to breathe, to rest. As you finish the last warm sip of tea, something catches your eye. On the far side of the room stands another small door. Unlike the others, this one is painted a deep forest green. Tiny golden leaves shimmer across its surface. Above the doorway hangs a simple wooden sign. It reads, "The Whispering Shelves." Evelyn notices your quiet curiosity. She smiles knowingly. "I believe," she whispers, "the books are ready to speak." She rises slowly from her chair. The fire continues its gentle crackle. The rain softly taps against the windows. And together, carrying nothing but quiet hearts and warm memories, you walk toward the next peaceful chapter of the hidden bookshop. The gentle rain continued its quiet song against the tall windows. Each tiny raindrop seemed to arrive with perfect patience, as though the night itself wished to help every visitor relax. You followed Evelyn toward the deep forest green door. The polished brass handle reflected the warm glow of the lanterns. Before opening it, Evelyn rested her hand lightly upon the wood. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, almost as though she were listening, not with her ears, but with her heart. Then she smiled. "They're awake," she whispered. The door opened slowly. A soft breath of warm air drifted out to greet you. It carried the comforting scent of old paper, cedar wood, fresh pine needles, vanilla, and the faint sweetness of dried roses. You stepped inside. Immediately, everything became wonderfully still. The room was enormous, far larger than it had appeared from outside. Bookshelves stretched in graceful rows that curved gently into the distance. None of them were perfectly straight. Instead, they flowed like the gentle bends of a quiet river. The shelves themselves seemed almost alive, not moving, not shifting, simply growing. Branches of polished oak extended naturally from the floor, reaching upward before unfolding into elegant wooden shelves. It was impossible to tell where the trees ended and the library began. Tiny lanterns floated between the branches. Their warm amber light rested softly upon thousands of books. No shadows felt dark. Every corner glowed with quiet comfort. You listened carefully. At first, there was only silence. Then, very softly, you heard it. A whisper. Not words. Not voices. Only the gentle sound of pages turning somewhere far away. Another whisper followed. Then another. The entire room seemed filled with the peaceful murmur of stories breathing quietly together. It reminded you of leaves rustling in a calm autumn breeze. Nothing hurried. Nothing loud. Only endless tranquility. You looked toward Evelyn. She noticed your smile. Many visitors believe the books are speaking. She paused. Perhaps they are. She walked slowly between two towering shelves, inviting you to follow. As you moved deeper into the room, the whispers became slightly clearer. Still impossible to understand, yet somehow comforting. Like hearing loved ones talking softly from another room while you drift peacefully towards sleep. Every shelf held books of different sizes. Some were no larger than your hand. Others were tall enough to require rolling ladders. Each cover was beautifully simple. No titles. No decorations. Only quiet colors that seemed chosen by nature itself. Soft moss green. Midnight blue. Cream. Warm chestnut. Gentle gray. You reached out and allowed your fingertips to brush lightly across one row of books. Their leather bindings felt smooth and warm, almost as though sunlight had once rested upon them and never truly left. One tiny book leaned forward ever so slightly. You carefully lifted it from the shelf. It was surprisingly light. When you opened the first page, no words appeared. Instead, you heard them. A peaceful breeze, birdsong, leaves dancing overhead, a distant stream flowing gently across smooth stones. The sounds filled the room without becoming loud. For a brief moment, you felt as though you were standing in the middle of a quiet forest at sunrise. Then, just as gently, the sounds faded. The pages became silent once more. Evelyn smiled. Some books tell their stories with words. She looked around the endless room. Others remember sounds. She guided you onward. A little farther ahead stood an old wooden bench beneath the graceful branches of one living bookshelf. Its cushions looked wonderfully soft. A folded blanket rested neatly across one side. Evelyn sat for a moment. You joined her. The whispers continued around you, never demanding attention, only surrounding you with quiet companionship. "You know," Evelyn said softly, "people often think silence is empty." She folded her hands in her lap. But silence is full. It holds breathing. It holds gentle thoughts. It holds peaceful moments that words could never describe. You sat together without speaking. There was no need. The room itself seemed to understand. one lantern drifted slowly overhead. Its golden light shimmered across the polished wooden floor before continuing lazily toward another shelf. Somewhere high above, hidden among the branches, a small white owl blinked sleepily before tucking its head beneath one wing. The rain outside had become even softer now, barely more than a whisper, as if the entire world had decided to rest. Then, from somewhere deep within the whispering shelves, a single golden feather floated gently through the air. It turned slowly, gracefully, until it landed upon the open page of the little book resting in your hands. The page, blank only a moment before, began to glow with tiny golden letters. Just one sentence appeared. Follow where the quiet light leads. You looked up, far beyond the endless rows of books. A narrow path of glowing lanterns stretched into the distance, waiting, patient, peaceful, as though it had always known you would arrive. Evelyn rose with a warm smile. I believe, she whispered. The lantern path is ready. Together, you took your first slow steps toward its gentle light. And somewhere beyond the shelves, another peaceful story quietly waited to unfold. The golden feather rested quietly upon the open page. Its gentle glow slowly faded, but the words remained. Follow where the quiet light leads. You closed the little book with care. For a moment, neither you nor Evelyn spoke. There was no need. The whispering shelves had already said everything they wished to say. Ahead of you, a narrow path of lanterns stretched into the distance. Each lantern floated only a few feet above the ground, suspended in the still air as though held by invisible hands. Their warm amber light spilled softly across the polished wooden floor. No lantern shone brighter than another. Together, they created a gentle ribbon of light that curved gracefully between the endless shelves. Evelyn smiled. The lantern path never appears by accident. It chooses a pace that matches the heart of its visitor. You took your first slow step forward. The nearest lantern drifted ahead almost imperceptibly, always remaining a comfortable distance away. It never hurried. It never paused for too long. It simply invited you onward. As you walked, the whispering shelves slowly disappeared behind you. The quiet murmur of turning pages faded into the distance, replaced by another peaceful sound. Wind. Soft, gentle wind, not cold, not strong, just enough to carry the delicate scent of pine trees and blooming jasmine. You looked upward. The ceiling had changed. The wooden beams and bookshelves were gone. Above you stretched a velvet sky filled with countless stars. The stars shimmered quietly, their reflections dancing upon a narrow stream that flowed beside the lantern path. The water was perfectly clear. Smooth stones rested beneath its surface, each one glowing faintly as the current drifted over them. You knelt beside the stream. The water moved so slowly that it almost seemed to be resting. You dipped your fingertips into it. It was cool and refreshing. Tiny circles spread gently across the surface before disappearing into perfect stillness. For a brief moment, the stream reflected not the stars, but a memory. You saw yourself sitting beneath a tree on a peaceful afternoon, reading a favorite book while sunlight filtered through green leaves. The memory lasted only a heartbeat. Then the stars returned. You smiled. Evelyn watched quietly. The stream of reflections, she said softly. It never shows the past to make us sad. It simply reminds us of the peaceful moments that helped shape who we are. You continued along the lantern path. The stream remained beside you, its gentle melody accompanying every step. Soon, small wooden bridges began to appear. Each bridge arched gracefully over the water, decorated with climbing ivy and tiny white flowers. As you crossed the first bridge, you noticed dozens of little lanterns floating upon the stream itself. Each one carried a folded paper boat. The boats drifted silently with the current. None of them sank. None became lost. They carry wishes, Evelyn explained. Not wishes for wealth or fame. She smiled. Only quiet wishes. Someone hopes for a peaceful night's sleep. Someone wishes an old friend happiness. Someone simply hopes tomorrow will be gentle. You watched one tiny lantern drift beneath the bridge. Its light reflected like liquid gold upon the water. The sight filled you with an unexpected sense of calm. Farther ahead, the path widened into a small clearing. In its center stood an ancient willow tree. Its long silver branches swayed ever so gently, though no breeze touched them. From every branch hung dozens of tiny lanterns. Some glowed amber, some silver, others shone with the faint blue light of early dawn. Beneath the willow rested a circular wooden bench. The wood had become smooth from countless peaceful visitors. Evelyn invited you to sit. You did. The willow's branches formed a quiet canopy overhead, filtering the lantern light into soft, golden patterns upon the ground. Somewhere among the leaves, a small robin sang a single gentle note before settling back into silence. The moment felt timeless. No clocks, no schedules, only the quiet rhythm of breathing. After a long, comfortable silence, Evelyn spoke. When people leave the outside world behind, they often believe they must search for peace. She looked up into the glowing branches. But peace is rarely something we find. It is something we remember. Her words settled gently into your thoughts. You closed your eyes for just a moment. The sounds around you blended together perfectly. The flowing stream, the quiet lanterns, the distant rustle of willow leaves, the soft beating of your own heart. Everything existed in gentle harmony. When you opened your eyes again, something new had appeared. Beyond the willow tree stood an elegant iron gate covered in flowering vines. Its design was delicate, woven with tiny stars, crescent moons, and climbing roses. A warm golden light glowed beyond it. Above the gate hung a small wooden sign. Its graceful lettering read, "The garden between pages." Evelyn rose slowly, her smile as calm as ever. "It is one of my favorite places," she whispered. "The flowers there bloom from forgotten stories." She looked toward the gate with quiet affection. "And every blossom carries a peaceful memory." The lanterns brightened ever so slightly, as though they too were eager to welcome you onward. Together, you walked toward the vine-covered gate. And as it slowly opened, the sweet fragrance of countless unseen flowers drifted softly through the night. Another quiet wonder was waiting just beyond. The iron gate opened without the slightest sound. Its flowering vines parted gently, as though they had been waiting all night to welcome you. A soft breeze drifted through the entrance. It carried the delicate fragrance of roses, lavender, jasmine, and fresh morning dew. The air felt wonderfully calm. Not cool, not warm, simply perfect. You stepped through the gate beside Evelyn. Behind you, the lantern path slowly disappeared beneath curtains of climbing ivy. Ahead stretched a beautiful garden unlike any place you had ever imagined. Stone pathways curved gracefully through beds of glowing flowers. Tiny streams wandered peacefully between polished rocks. Butterflies with shimmering silver wings floated lazily from blossom to blossom. None hurried. Everything moved with quiet purpose. The sky above remained filled with stars, yet the garden glowed as though dawn and midnight had somehow agreed to share the same gentle light. Golden lanterns hung from low tree branches. Crystal droplets rested upon every leaf, sparkling like tiny stars. Somewhere nearby, water trickled softly into a small pond. Its gentle melody blended perfectly with the songs of sleeping birds. You took a slow breath. The scent of the flowers seemed almost magical. Each breath made the world feel a little lighter, a little quieter, a little farther away from the worries of ordinary days. Evelyn smiled as she watched you admire the garden. "This place," she whispered, "is where forgotten stories bloom again." You looked toward the nearest flower. Its petals glowed with a soft pale blue light, unlike any flower you had seen before. As you leaned closer, something extraordinary happened. Tiny golden words appeared briefly upon one of its petals. They shimmered gently before fading into the air. "What did it say?" you asked quietly. Evelyn's eyes sparkled. It remembered a bedtime story that someone loved as a child. She gently brushed one fingertip across another blossom. Its petals glowed with warm amber light. This one remembers the smell of fresh bread from a grandmother's kitchen. She smiled. Every flower carries a peaceful memory. You continued along the winding path. The flowers changed with every few steps. Some shimmered like moonlight. Others glowed softly in shades of lavender, pearl, and pale gold. None were identical. Each seemed to hold its own quiet story. Near the center of the garden stood an ancient stone fountain. Instead of water flowing upward, tiny glowing pages floated slowly above its basin. They drifted through the air like autumn leaves before settling gently back into the fountain. Not a single page became wet. Each one glowed with faint golden light. You watched them with quiet wonder. One page drifted toward you. It hovered just above your hands. Its surface was perfectly blank. Then, very slowly, words began to appear. The happiest evenings are often the quietest ones. The sentence remained for only a few moments before fading once more. The page floated gently away, joining the others in their peaceful dance above the fountain. Evelyn looked toward the sky. The garden only writes what the heart already knows. The two of you wandered deeper among the flowers. Time seemed to disappear completely. No clocks. No footsteps rushing past. Only soft lantern light, fragrant blossoms, and the gentle sound of water flowing through hidden streams. Soon you reached a wide meadow at the far end of the garden. Thousands of tiny white flowers covered the ground like freshly fallen snow. Above them danced countless glowing fireflies. Their golden lights rose and fell slowly, creating the appearance of stars that had drifted down to visit the earth. At the center of the meadow stood a single wooden swing hanging from the branch of an enormous cherry tree. Its blossoms shimmered in silver moonlight. A gentle breeze caused the swing to move almost imperceptibly, back and forth, slowly, peacefully. Evelyn nodded toward it. You may sit, if you wish. You lowered yourself onto the smooth wooden seat. It felt warm despite the cool night air. With one gentle push, the swing began its slow rhythm. Forward, back, forward, back. Each movement seemed to carry away another restless thought. Above you, cherry blossoms drifted lazily through the air. A few landed softly upon the grass. Others floated across the nearby stream before disappearing into the quiet current. You closed your eyes for just a moment. The scent of blossoms, the song of the fountain, the whisper of leaves, the slow creak of the swing. Everything blended into a peaceful lullaby. When you opened your eyes again, you noticed something glowing beyond the meadow. Far in the distance stood a magnificent glass greenhouse. Its crystal walls reflected thousands of stars. Warm golden light shone gently from within. Inside, you could just make out endless rows of unusual plants and glowing vines climbing toward the glass ceiling. Above its elegant doorway hung a small wooden sign. It read, "The Greenhouse of Quiet Dreams." Evelyn followed your gaze. Her smile became softer than ever. "There," she whispered, "even dreams are carefully tended." The fireflies gathered quietly along the path leading toward the greenhouse. Like tiny lanterns, they lit the way forward. Together you walked beneath the drifting cherry blossoms, toward another peaceful wonder waiting inside the hidden bookshop. The path of tiny fireflies led you gently across the meadow. Their golden lights drifted through the air like slow-moving stars, never rushing, never fading, simply guiding the way. Ahead, the glass greenhouse shimmered beneath the midnight sky. Its crystal walls reflected the moon, the lanterns, and the countless stars above, making it seem as though the entire universe had quietly gathered around it. As you approached, you noticed something curious. Not a single drop of dew rested upon the glass. Instead, every pane glowed softly from within, warm and welcoming. The tall door opened before you reached it. It made no sound. Only a gentle breath of warm air greeted you. The fragrance inside was unlike anything you had ever experienced. Fresh mint, blooming jasmine, sweet lavender, cedar leaves, vanilla orchids, a hint of honey, and the faint scent of rain resting upon green leaves. You stepped inside beside Evelyn. Immediately, the world became even quieter. The ceiling arched high above, built from delicate crystal panels that revealed the peaceful night sky. Moonlight filtered through the glass, mixing with the warm glow of hanging lanterns. Together, they painted everything in gentle shades of gold and silver. Everywhere you looked, beautiful plants stretched toward the light. Some carried glowing blue blossoms. Others held silver leaves that shimmered whenever the soft breeze passed through. Tiny vines climbed graceful wooden arches, their leaves sparkling like emeralds dusted with starlight. In the very center of the greenhouse stood an enormous tree. Its trunk was smooth and pale, almost white beneath the lantern light. Its branches spread outward in every direction, forming a great living canopy. Instead of ordinary leaves, the tree carried tiny glowing feathers. Thousands of them. They swayed gently, creating the softest whisper whenever the air moved. You listened carefully. The sound reminded you of someone turning the pages of a beloved book. Slowly, tenderly, without hurry, Evelyn placed one hand upon the ancient trunk. "This," she whispered, "is the dream tree. It grows from peaceful thoughts." You looked upward. The glowing feathers drifted lazily through the branches. Every now and then, one would loosen itself and float gracefully toward the ground. None fell quickly. Each feather seemed to enjoy its journey through the quiet air. One landed gently upon your shoulder. It felt lighter than a snowflake, warmer than sunlight. The moment you touched it, a peaceful image appeared in your mind. You found yourself sitting beside a calm lake at sunrise. Mist floated above the still water. Birds greeted the morning with soft songs. A small wooden boat rested quietly against the shore. Nothing happened. Nothing needed to happen. The feeling alone filled your heart with calm. The vision faded as gently as it had arrived. The feather dissolved into tiny points of golden light before disappearing. Evelyn smiled. The dream tree never shows grand adventures. It simply reminds us of places where the heart feels completely at rest. You continued walking through the greenhouse. Small pathways curved between beds of glowing flowers. Crystal watering cans rested beside each garden. None were ever empty. Tiny streams carried fresh water through narrow channels lined with smooth white stones. The sound of flowing water blended perfectly with the whispering feathers above. Soon you reached a circular pond. Its surface was perfectly still. White lilies floated peacefully across the water. Each blossom emitted a soft pearl-colored glow. As you looked into the pond, you noticed the reflection was unusual. It did not mirror the greenhouse above. Instead, it reflected a peaceful night sky filled with slow-moving clouds. The clouds drifted lazily across the water, even though the real sky remained clear. "What is this place?" you asked quietly. Evelyn knelt beside the pond. "This is the mirror pond. It reflects peaceful dreams that have not yet been dreamed." You watched the clouds drift across the water. For a brief moment, the reflection revealed a cozy cabin surrounded by falling snow. Warm light glowed from its windows. Smoke rose gently from its chimney. Then the image faded. The pond became still once again. Nearby stood a long wooden bench beneath flowering vines. You and Evelyn sat together without speaking. A gentle breeze moved through the greenhouse, carrying the scent of blooming roses and fresh herbs. Somewhere above, a tiny night bird fluttered quietly from one branch to another before settling back into silence. Time seemed to slow even further. Perhaps it had stopped altogether. You closed your eyes. The warmth of the greenhouse, the fragrance of flowers, the whisper of the dream tree, the distant trickle of water. Everything blended into one peaceful melody. After several quiet moments, Evelyn spoke softly. "Every visitor believes this greenhouse cares for flowers." She smiled. "But it cares for something much more delicate." She looked toward the glowing tree. "It cares for quiet dreams. Dreams that ask for nothing. Dreams that simply wish to bring comfort." As you rose from the bench, you noticed a narrow stone staircase hidden behind a curtain of flowering vines. Tiny lanterns floated above each step. At the top of the staircase, A small wooden door glowed with soft amber light. Above it hung a beautifully carved sign. It read, "The Observatory of Gentle Stars." Evelyn looked toward the staircase, her eyes reflecting the warm lantern light. "The stars," she whispered, "have their own stories to share." With slow, peaceful steps, you began climbing toward the quiet light above, leaving the greenhouse behind, but carrying its gentle dreams with you. The narrow stone staircase curved gently upward. Each step was smooth beneath your feet, worn not by countless hurried travelers, but by quiet visitors who had climbed slowly, one peaceful moment at a time. Tiny lanterns floated beside the staircase. Their warm amber light shimmered softly against the old stone walls. No shadows felt lonely here. Even the darkness seemed gentle. As you climbed, the air became cooler, fresh, clean. It carried the delicate scent of cedar wood, lavender, and the faint sweetness of night-blooming jasmine drifting through an open window somewhere above. Neither you nor Evelyn spoke. The silence between you felt comfortable, like sitting beside an old friend while watching the stars appear one by one. At the top of the staircase stood the small wooden door. Its surface was carved with moons in every phase, delicate constellations, and tiny birds with folded wings, peacefully asleep among the stars. Evelyn rested her fingertips lightly upon the brass handle. "The observatory," she whispered, "reminds us that even the sky enjoys moving slowly." The door opened without a sound. You stepped inside. For a brief moment, you forgot to breathe. The room beneath the great glass dome was breathtaking. Above you stretched an endless canopy of stars. The crystal ceiling was so clear that it almost seemed to disappear entirely, leaving only the quiet night sky resting above the hidden bookshop. Thousands upon thousands of stars shimmered peacefully. Some glowed with warm golden light. Others shone softly in shades of silver and pale blue. None sparkled sharply. Instead, they pulsed with a slow, comforting rhythm, like calm breathing. The room itself was circular. Polished oak bookshelves curved gently around the walls. Ancient journals rested neatly beside beautifully illustrated star maps. Small brass lanterns hung between the shelves, filling the observatory with a warm amber glow. At its center stood an elegant telescope. Its polished brass tube reflected the lantern light like liquid gold. The wooden tripod beneath it looked lovingly cared for, as though someone had adjusted it only moments ago. Beside the telescope waited two comfortable armchairs. A soft wool blanket rested across each one. A small round table held a steaming teapot and two porcelain cups. Fresh chamomile tea filled the air with its soothing fragrance. Everything felt prepared. Not for an important visitor. Simply for a peaceful evening beneath the stars. Evelyn poured the tea. Steam curled gently upward before disappearing into the quiet air. She handed you one of the cups. The porcelain felt pleasantly warm against your hands. You took a slow sip. Chamomile. A touch of honey. A hint of vanilla. The warmth settled comfortably through your chest. You looked upward again. Something unusual caught your attention. The constellations were moving, not across the sky, within themselves. The stars shifted ever so slowly, rearranging into graceful shapes. A bird unfolded its wings. A sailboat drifted upon an invisible sea. An ancient oak tree swayed gently in a breeze only the heavens could feel. Then, the images dissolved back into ordinary constellations. You watched in quiet wonder. Evelyn smiled. The stars enjoy telling stories. They simply tell them much more slowly than we do. She walked toward the telescope and adjusted it with practiced hands. "Would you like to see?" You stepped beside her, looking through the polished brass telescope. You expected to see distant stars. Instead, you saw a quiet hillside beneath the moon. A little stone cottage rested there. Its windows glowed warmly. Smoke drifted lazily from its chimney. An old wooden bench overlooked fields of lavender gently moving in the night breeze. Nothing happened. No one appeared. Only stillness. Only peace. It was enough. You lowered your eyes from the telescope. I've never seen a place like that. Evelyn nodded softly. Perhaps you have. Sometimes the heart remembers places before the mind does. You stood together beneath the glass dome. The stars continued their slow dance overhead. Far below, somewhere within the hidden bookshop, you could just hear the faint crackle of the fireplace and the distant whisper of turning pages. The sounds rose gently through the building like a comforting lullaby. Minutes passed, or perhaps an hour. Time felt wonderfully unimportant. Then, a single star began to glow more brightly than all the others. It did not flash. It did not fall. Instead, it drifted slowly downward through the crystal dome. Impossible, yet perfectly natural. The little star floated into the observatory. Its light was soft and warm, no brighter than a lantern. It hovered quietly before you. Then, as gently as a feather landing upon calm water, it settled into the palm of your hand. It felt weightless, comforting, like holding a tiny piece of the peaceful night itself. The star glowed for a few quiet moments. Then it slowly transformed. Its golden light unfolded into a small folded piece of paper tied with a silver ribbon. You carefully untied it. Inside, written in delicate golden letters, was a single sentence. The quietest hearts always find their way home. You read the words once more. Slowly, the paper dissolved into countless tiny points of light. They drifted upward, returning to the night sky above. Evelyn watched with gentle eyes. The stars leave gifts only when they believe someone is ready. She looked toward the far side of the observatory. Hidden between two towering bookshelves stood another door. This one was painted a deep midnight blue. Tiny silver stars were carved across its surface. Above it hung a small crescent moon of polished brass. Beneath the moon, a wooden sign read, "The Hall of Sleeping Clocks." Evelyn smiled. "There," she whispered, "even time has learned to dream." Together, carrying the quiet blessing of the stars within your heart, you walked toward the midnight blue door. As your hand reached for the brass handle, the gentle ticking of countless peaceful clocks welcomed you from beyond. The midnight blue door opened with the gentlest sigh. Not the sound of old hinges. Not the sound of moving wood. It was softer than that. Almost like the quiet breath of someone peacefully asleep. Warm golden light spilled across the floor. You stepped inside beside Evelyn. Immediately you noticed the clocks. They were everywhere. Tall grandfather clocks stood peacefully beside polished bookshelves. Small mantel clocks rested upon carved oak tables. Tiny pocket watches hung from delicate ribbons beneath floating lanterns. Some clocks were made of polished brass, others of walnut wood. A few shimmered with silver, reflecting the amber light that filled the room. Yet something was unusual. Every clock was still. No hands moved. No pendulum swung. No ticking echoed through the room. Instead, a deep and comforting silence embraced everything. You looked toward Evelyn. She smiled. These clocks have not stopped. She rested one hand upon the smooth surface of an old grandfather clock. They are simply dreaming. You let those words settle gently into your thoughts. Dreaming. The idea somehow felt perfectly natural inside the hidden bookshop. The room itself was circular, with high arched windows looking out upon a sky filled with slow-moving stars. Soft velvet curtains framed each window, gently swaying although no breeze could be felt. Above, a magnificent chandelier of tiny lanterns floated beneath the ceiling. Its warm glow wrapped every corner of the room in peaceful amber light. At the center stood an enormous wooden table. Upon it rested something extraordinary. A map. It was unlike any map you had ever seen. Its parchment stretched almost from one end of the table to the other. The edges curled gently with age. Golden threads shimmered through the paper like tiny rivers of light. No countries were marked. No oceans. No cities. Instead, the map was filled with places whose names seemed wonderfully impossible. The meadow of gentle mornings. The bridge of quiet evenings. The valley of warm fireplaces. The forest of whispering pines. The lake where moonlight sleeps. The cottage beneath falling snow. Every name carried a feeling rather than a destination. You found yourself smiling without knowing why. Evelyn noticed. This, she whispered, is the map of forgotten dreams. It remembers places the heart has loved, even when the mind has forgotten. You slowly traced one glowing path with your fingertips. The golden line shimmered beneath your touch. Suddenly, the parchment came alive. Tiny lights began to move across its surface. Not quickly, slowly, gracefully, like lanterns drifting upon a calm river. One small light paused beside the drawing of a quiet forest. The illustration gently expanded until it seemed almost real. You could hear birds singing softly, leaves rustling overhead, a nearby stream flowing over smooth stones. For just a few moments, you were there, walking peacefully beneath towering trees. Sunlight filtered through green branches. The scent of pine and wildflowers filled the air. No worries followed you, only stillness. Then, as gently as morning mist lifting from a meadow, the vision faded. The map became still once more. Evelyn folded her hands before her. The map never shows where you should go. It simply reminds you of the places that already live within your heart. You continued exploring its endless pathways. Another tiny illustration caught your attention. A lighthouse stood upon quiet cliffs overlooking a calm sea. Its lantern glowed warmly against the night. Below it rested a little cottage surrounded by blooming lavender. A single rocking chair waited upon the porch. The image shimmered. For a moment, you could almost hear distant waves meeting the shore. You breathed slowly. The peaceful rhythm of the sea settled gently into your thoughts. Across the room, one of the sleeping clocks gave the faintest chime. Only once. Soft, comforting, almost like a lullaby. You looked toward it. Its hands had not moved. Yet somehow, it had spoken. Evelyn smiled knowingly. Sometimes the clocks remind the map that another beautiful memory has returned. Silence settled once more. Not empty silence. Living silence. The kind that invites the heart to rest. You continued walking around the great table. Near the very center of the map, something glowed brighter than everything else. A tiny golden compass. Unlike an ordinary compass, its needle did not point north. It turned slowly, until it rested upon a single place marked only with a small drawing of an open book beneath a great oak tree. The words beneath it read, "Where every gentle journey begins." Evelyn looked at the glowing compass. It has chosen your next path. She reached beneath the edge of the great table and gently opened a hidden drawer. Inside rested an old leather case. She placed it before you. When you opened it, inside lay another map, much smaller. Its parchment was perfectly blank. Evelyn's smile grew warm. "This one," she whispered, "belongs only to you. It will never show every destination. It will reveal them, one peaceful journey at a time." You carefully rolled the little map and tied it with the soft blue ribbon that rested beside it. As you lifted your eyes, you noticed another doorway beyond the sleeping clocks. Its archway was carved from pale oak, entwined with stars and ivy. A warm golden glow shone gently from the room beyond. Above the doorway hung a beautifully painted sign. It read, "The Quiet Clockmaker's Workshop." Evelyn looked toward it and smiled. "I believe," she whispered, "someone has been patiently waiting to meet us." Together, carrying the little blank map in your hands, you walked toward the softly glowing doorway. Behind you, the great map of forgotten dreams shimmered one last time, as though quietly wishing you a peaceful journey onward. The oak doorway stood quietly before you. Its arch was woven with carved ivy, tiny stars, and delicate gears no larger than a flower petal. Warm golden light spilled gently across the polished floor. As you stepped through, a soft fragrance greeted you. It was the comforting scent of cedar wood, beeswax, polished brass, and fresh chamomile tea. Somewhere nearby, lavender lingered in the air. The room beyond was smaller than the grand halls you had already explored. Yet somehow, it felt even more peaceful. Every wall was lined with shelves holding hundreds of clocks. Grandfather clocks, pocket watches, little mantle clocks, elegant brass carriage clocks. But unlike ordinary workshops, there was no sound of busy tools, no loud ticking, no clattering gears. Only the quiet crackle of a small fireplace resting in one corner. Near the window stood a sturdy wooden workbench. Tiny screwdrivers, polished tweezers, magnifying lenses, and delicate springs rested neatly in velvet-lined trays. Everything was perfectly arranged. Not a single tool appeared forgotten. Above the bench hung a simple wooden sign. Its graceful lettering read, "Every moment deserves kindness." You found yourself reading the words twice. Evelyn noticed. "He carved that sign himself," she whispered. Before you could ask who she meant, a gentle voice answered from the other side of the room. "I've always believed time listens to kindness." The voice was warm, quiet, gentle as falling snow. An elderly man stepped slowly into the lantern light. His silver hair curled softly beneath a wool cap. Round spectacles rested upon the bridge of his nose. His brown apron was dusted with tiny specks of brass and cedar sawdust. In his hand, he carried not a clock, but a beautifully bound leather book. He smiled the moment he saw Evelyn. "You've brought another traveler." Evelyn nodded. "I believe the book has been waiting." The old clockmaker bowed his head kindly. "My name is Elias." His handshake was warm, steady, comforting, like greeting an old friend. He carefully placed the leather-bound book upon the workbench. Its cover was deep chestnut brown, worn smooth by countless gentle hands. Tiny golden gears were embossed around its edges. At its center rested a small silver hourglass. Unlike the clocks surrounding the room, the hourglass held no sand. Instead, tiny golden stars drifted slowly from one chamber into the other. You leaned a little closer. The stars did not fall. They floated, gracefully, patiently, almost as though they enjoyed every moment of their journey. Elias smiled. Most books tell stories. He rested one hand upon the cover. This one remembers quiet moments. He slowly opened the first page. The paper was thick and beautifully aged. Golden handwriting shimmered softly beneath the lantern light. The first sentence read, "The happiest hours are the ones no one remembers counting." You continued reading. Each page described the smallest moments of ordinary life. Watching rain slide across a window, listening to a kettle softly whistle, reading beneath a warm blanket, watching snow gather upon rooftops, sharing tea with an old friend, walking beneath autumn trees while leaves drifted lazily around your feet. None of the moments were extraordinary, yet each one felt deeply precious. You turned another page. A tiny illustration appeared. A little girl sat beside her grandfather beneath an apple tree. Neither spoke. They simply watched clouds drift across the sky together. The picture glowed faintly. For just a moment, the scent of fresh apples filled the room. A gentle breeze brushed your face. You could almost hear distant birds singing. Then the page became still once more. Elias smiled quietly. This book does not preserve history. It preserves peace. He carefully closed the book. There are many important days in a lifetime, but only a few truly peaceful ones, and those deserve to be remembered forever. You sat together beside the fireplace. The flames danced lazily behind polished glass. Warm amber light filled every corner of the workshop. One of the small clocks upon the shelf gave a single soft tick, then another, slow, comforting, almost like the steady rhythm of breathing. Elias reached into a small wooden drawer beneath his workbench. From it, he removed a tiny brass pocket watch. He placed it gently into your hand. It was surprisingly light. The cover bore no numbers, no hands, only a beautifully engraved moon surrounded by tiny stars. It doesn't measure hours, Elias explained. It reminds its owner to notice peaceful moments. He closed your fingers gently around it. When you remember kindness, It quietly glows. You slip the little watch carefully into your pocket. Somehow, it already felt familiar, as though it had always belonged there. Outside the workshop window, soft snow had begun to fall. Each snowflake drifted slowly beneath the lantern light. The entire hidden bookshop seemed wrapped in a deeper silence than ever before. Evelyn rose from her chair. "So," she asked softly, "shall we continue?" Elias smiled warmly. He walked toward the far side of the workshop, where an old wooden bookshelf slowly moved aside. Behind it appeared a narrow passage lined with softly glowing candles. At the end of the passage stood another beautifully carved door. Its surface was decorated with climbing roses, tiny butterflies, and curling vines. Above it hung a wooden sign. Its elegant lettering read, "The Garden of Living Stories." Elias gave a gentle nod. "The flowers have been waiting for someone who knows how to walk slowly." Together, the three of you stepped toward the candlelit passage. Behind you, the quiet clockmaker's book rested peacefully upon the workbench. Its pages closed, yet quietly remembering another beautiful evening inside the hidden bookshop. The candlelit passage stretched quietly before you. Each small flame rested inside delicate glass lanterns, their warm amber light dancing gently upon the old stone walls. The air carried the peaceful fragrance of beeswax, cedarwood, and blooming jasmine. You walked slowly beside Evelyn. Behind you, Elias remained standing at the entrance of his workshop. He lifted one hand in a gentle farewell. "Every peaceful story," he said softly, "always finds its way back." His warm smile lingered in your thoughts as the bookshelf quietly slid back into place. The workshop disappeared from view. Ahead, the carved wooden door waited patiently. Its surface was covered with winding vines, tiny butterflies, roses in full bloom, and delicate birds resting among leafy branches. It felt less like a door, and more like the entrance to a dream. Evelyn rested her fingertips against the polished brass handle. "The garden changes every night," she whispered. "No visitor ever sees it exactly the same way." The door opened. A gentle breeze welcomed you. It carried the fresh scent of roses after rain, lavender warmed by moonlight, fresh mint, and the sweetness of blooming honeysuckle. You stepped forward. The world became wonderfully quiet. Before you stretched a vast moonlit garden. Stone pathways curved through endless beds of flowers glowing with soft shades of pearl, pale blue, lavender, and warm gold. Tiny streams wandered peacefully beneath graceful wooden bridges. Fireflies floated lazily above the water, their tiny lights reflecting like stars upon the calm surface. Ancient trees spread their branches overhead, creating a living canopy that shimmered beneath the moon. Every leaf glowed softly, touched by silver light. The garden felt timeless. No footsteps echoed. No wind disturbed the silence. Only the quiet melody of flowing water and distant birds resting for the night. You paused beside the first flower bed. The blossoms were unlike any you had ever seen. Some looked like tiny lanterns. Others resembled folded stars. A few slowly opened as you approached, revealing delicate golden centers that glowed like candlelight. Evelyn smiled. "These are story blossoms. They bloom whenever someone remembers a peaceful moment." She knelt beside a pale blue flower. Its petals shimmered gently. As you watched, tiny golden words appeared upon them. They glowed only for a moment. "A quiet evening beside the sea." The words faded. The blossom closed once more. You continued walking. Every few steps revealed another quiet wonder. A rose remembered the smell of fresh bread from a childhood kitchen. A white lily remembered snowfall outside a warm window. A field of lavender remembered a peaceful afternoon beneath a great oak tree. The flowers never spoke loudly. They simply shared gentle memories before returning to silence. Soon the path led you toward a small stone bridge arching gracefully over a narrow stream. The water flowed so slowly it almost seemed to be dreaming. Tiny silver fish drifted beneath the surface, their scales glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. You leaned upon the bridge, looking into the water. You expected to see your reflection. Instead, you saw pages. Thousands of pages. They floated beneath the clear water without becoming wet. Some turned slowly by themselves. Others rested quietly, waiting. Every page shimmered with tiny golden letters. "What are they?" you asked softly. Evelyn gazed into the stream. "They are unfinished stories." She smiled. "Some belong to visitors who have not yet arrived. Others belong to dreams still waiting to be remembered." The gentle current carried another page beneath the bridge. For just a moment, you caught a glimpse of elegant handwriting. "There is always another peaceful chapter." Then it drifted away. The words disappeared beneath the silver reflections of the moon. Farther ahead, the garden opened into a circular meadow. In its center stood a magnificent oak tree. Its branches stretched wide across the night sky. Instead of leaves, tiny paper pages fluttered softly among the branches. Each page glowed with warm golden light. They rustled together with the gentlest whisper, almost like distant voices reading bedtime stories. Beneath the tree rested a beautifully carved wooden bench. You and Evelyn sat together. The wood felt pleasantly warm. Somewhere nearby, an owl gave a single quiet call before settling once more into silence. Minutes passed peacefully. Perhaps longer. Time seemed to dissolve beneath the gentle moonlight. Eventually, Evelyn spoke. When people remember their happiest days, they often remember the great adventures. She smiled gently. But this garden remembers something else. It remembers the quiet moments in between. The cup of tea before sunrise. The book finished beside a warm fire. The first snowflake resting upon a windowsill. The evening breeze carrying the scent of summer flowers. She looked toward the glowing oak tree. And those moments are often the ones that stay with us forever. You breathed deeply. The night air felt wonderfully calm. The fragrance of roses and lavender drifted lazily through the garden. Above, thousands of stars shimmered beyond the branches. Then, one glowing page slowly detached itself from the oak tree. It floated gently through the still air. Not hurried. Not random. It drifted directly toward you. The page landed softly in your open hands. Unlike the others, it was blank. Completely blank. Evelyn smiled knowingly. "That page," she whispered, "has been waiting. It will one day hold one of your own peaceful stories." You carefully folded the page and placed it inside your pocket beside the little brass watch Elias had given you. The watch gave the faintest warm glow, almost as though it approved. At the far end of the meadow, hidden behind climbing ivy and moonflowers, another pathway slowly appeared. Floating lanterns gathered above it one by one. Their golden light stretched gently into the distance. Beyond the path stood an elegant stone arch. Above it hung a simple wooden sign. Its graceful lettering read, "The River of Quiet Stories." Evelyn rose slowly. "The river," she whispered, "never forgets a single peaceful journey." Together, beneath the silver moon and the softly glowing story tree, you stepped toward the lantern-lit path. Another gentle chapter of the hidden bookshop quietly waited ahead. The lantern-lit path curved gently beneath a canopy of ancient willow trees. Their long silver branches swayed almost imperceptibly, brushing the evening air with the softest whisper. The page resting safely inside your pocket felt surprisingly warm. Beside it, the little brass watch Elias had given you glowed faintly, as though quietly keeping company with the blank story page. Evelyn walked beside you in peaceful silence. Neither of you hurried. There was nowhere else to be. The hidden bookshop had a way of slowing every step until even walking felt like part of the story. Ahead, the gentle sound of flowing water grew clearer. Not loud. Not rushing. Only the calm rhythm of a river finding its way through the quiet night. The trees slowly opened. Before you stretched the most peaceful river you had ever seen. Its surface reflected every lantern, every star, and every drifting cloud above. The water moved so slowly that each reflection remained almost perfectly still. Tiny paper boats floated along the current. Each carried a small glowing lantern. Some boats held a single folded page. Others carried pressed flowers, tiny feathers, or smooth white stones. None drifted quickly. Each seemed content to follow the river wherever it wished to go. A graceful wooden dock extended a short distance over the water. Tied gently beside it rested a small rowboat. It was beautifully crafted from pale oak, polished until it reflected the warm lantern light. A woven blanket lay folded across one seat. A little wicker basket rested near the bow. Inside were 2 porcelain cups and a small teapot wrapped in soft linen to keep it warm. Evelyn smiled. The river of stories is always best explored slowly. She stepped into the boat with practiced ease. You followed carefully. The boat rocked once, then settled into perfect stillness. No oars waited inside. No sail. No rope. You looked around curiously. How does it move? Evelyn's smile widened ever so slightly. It listens. Almost as soon as she finished speaking, the boat drifted away from the dock, so gently that you barely noticed the movement. The river carried you forward as though it had known your journey all along. The lanterns along the shore slipped quietly past. Their reflections stretched across the water like ribbons of liquid gold. Somewhere nearby, a nightingale offered a single soft note before falling silent again. The peaceful sound lingered in the cool evening air. You leaned comfortably against the blanket. The gentle rocking of the boat felt almost like breathing. Slow, steady, restful. On either side of the river, the landscape changed little by little. First came fields of lavender glowing beneath the moon. Then quiet orchards where apple trees stood heavy with fruit. Beyond them appeared rolling hills covered with wildflowers swaying gently in the breeze. Every place seemed familiar, not because you had visited it, but because it carried the feeling of somewhere you had always hoped to find. The boat continued onward. Soon, tiny lights began appearing beneath the water. At first there were only a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Soft golden lights drifting below the surface, like stars resting beneath the river instead of above it. You looked closer. They were not stars. They were words. Tiny glowing sentences flowed peacefully beneath the boat. Some were only a few words long. Others stretched into graceful paragraphs before dissolving into light. You managed to read one as it passed. The sound of rain against the attic window made the whole house feel safe. Another drifted beneath the boat. Grandfather always poured tea before telling a story. Then another. Snow covered every rooftop, and the world became wonderfully quiet. The glowing words disappeared downstream. You watched until the last tiny letter faded into the darkness. Evelyn rested one hand lightly upon the side of the boat. The river remembers every peaceful story ever whispered. It carries them gently through the night, so they are never truly forgotten. The current remained calm. Not once did the boat jolt or turn sharply. It simply glided forward with quiet confidence. Soon you reached a graceful stone bridge arching across the river. Its sides were covered with climbing ivy and tiny white roses. Dozens of glass lanterns hung beneath the bridge, their warm light reflecting softly upon the water. As the boat passed underneath, the entire world seemed to grow even quieter. You closed your eyes. For a few peaceful moments, you listened. The gentle splash of water against the wooden hull, the distant rustle of willow branches, the quiet breathing of the night. Everything blended into a soothing lullaby. When you opened your eyes again, the bridge was behind you. Ahead, the river widened into a tranquil lake. Its surface shimmered like polished silver beneath the moon. At the center of the lake floated a tiny island. Upon it stood a single cottage. Warm light glowed from its round windows. Smoke curled lazily from its stone chimney. A small garden surrounded the little home, filled with lavender, roses, and softly glowing flowers. Beside the cottage rested an old wooden rocking chair. It moved gently, though no one sat within it. The sight filled your heart with a deep sense of peace. Evelyn looked toward the island. That cottage belongs to no one. She smiled. And to everyone. It appears only when someone truly needs a place to rest. The boat slowed naturally, as though the lake itself wished you to admire the view. Neither of you spoke. There was nothing to add. The silence said everything. After several quiet moments, the boat turned gently on its own. Beyond the lake, another narrow river continued beneath a tunnel formed by flowering vines. At its entrance stood two ancient stone pillars wrapped in climbing jasmine. Between them hung a beautifully carved wooden sign. Its elegant lettering glowed softly beneath the lantern light. It read, "The Room of Winter Tales." A cool breeze drifted from beyond the vine-covered arch. It carried the comforting scent of fresh snow. Pine forests, cinnamon, and a crackling fire waiting somewhere ahead. Evelyn smiled warmly. "I believe," she whispered, "winter has prepared a peaceful story for us." The little boat glided silently toward the archway. Behind you, the river of stories continued its endless journey, carrying countless gentle memories beneath the quiet midnight sky. The little boat drifted quietly beneath the arch of flowering vines. Behind you, the river of stories continued its peaceful journey, carrying glowing words into the gentle darkness. Ahead, the air slowly changed. The fragrance of roses and jasmine faded. In their place came the comforting scent of evergreen pine, cedar logs, cinnamon, warm vanilla, and fresh snow. A cool breeze brushed softly across your face. Not cold enough to make you shiver, only cool enough to feel wonderfully refreshing. The boat slowed beside a small wooden dock. Snow rested lightly upon its polished planks. Tiny lanterns glowed along its edges, their amber light reflecting across the calm water. Evelyn stepped onto the dock. You followed carefully. The snow beneath your boots made almost no sound. It was soft, fresh, untouched. A narrow path wound gently through snow-covered pine trees. Every branch carried delicate white snowflakes that sparkled beneath the moonlight. Somewhere nearby, an owl gave a quiet call. Farther away, the wind whispered softly through the forest. The sounds blended together like a peaceful lullaby. You walked slowly beside Evelyn. "There is something special about winter," she said. "It teaches the world how to become quiet." You smiled. The forest seemed to agree. No leaves rustled. No hurried footsteps echoed. Only the soft breath of the night. Soon, warm golden light appeared between the trees. It glowed gently through frosted windows. A beautiful stone cottage stood waiting at the edge of a snowy clearing. Its roof was blanketed with fresh snow. Smoke curled lazily from a tall chimney. Icicles shimmered beneath the eaves like tiny crystals. Above the old oak door hung a carved wooden sign. Its elegant lettering read, "The Room of Winter Tales." Evelyn pushed the door open. A wave of comforting warmth welcomed you inside. The scent of burning cedar logs filled the room, mixed with cinnamon tea, fresh bread, and vanilla biscuits cooling upon a wooden tray. The cottage felt wonderfully cozy. A great stone fireplace stretched from floor to ceiling. Golden flames danced slowly behind a protective screen. Their gentle crackling filled every corner with peaceful sound. Bookshelves lined the walls. Each shelf held stories wrapped in white, silver, and deep forest green bindings. Soft blankets rested across comfortable armchairs. Knitted cushions waited beside the fire. Tiny lanterns hung from wooden beams overhead. Their warm glow reflected upon polished oak floors. Snow drifted peacefully outside the windows. Large flakes floated lazily through the night, settling upon evergreen branches. Everything beyond the glass seemed wrapped in perfect silence. Evelyn poured 2 cups of steaming cinnamon tea. The warm porcelain felt comforting in your hands. You settled into a deep armchair beside the fire. A thick wool blanket rested across your knees. The warmth spread slowly through your body. Outside, snow continued falling. Inside, the fire whispered softly. It felt impossible to imagine a safer place. After a long, peaceful silence, Evelyn reached toward one of the white-bound books upon a nearby shelf. She opened it carefully. Instead of words, tiny snowflakes drifted upward from the pages. They floated lazily through the room before disappearing into the warm firelight. You watched in quiet wonder. "The winter tales," Evelyn whispered, "are not read. They are remembered." She turned another page. This time, the room filled with the gentle sound of children laughing far away while building a snowman. The laughter was soft, never loud, only happy. Another page. You heard the peaceful rhythm of boots walking through fresh snow. Another. A kettle quietly whistling inside a mountain cabin. Another. The gentle jingling of tiny bells carried by a horse-drawn sleigh disappearing into the snowy distance. Each memory lasted only a few moments, then faded gently into silence once more. The book seemed less interested in telling stories, and more interested in sharing feelings. Warmth, comfort, stillness. You closed your eyes. The crackling fire, the falling snow, the scent of cinnamon, the quiet turning of pages. Everything blended into one soothing melody. You could almost imagine yourself resting there forever. No hurry, no worries, only peaceful winter evenings stretching gently into the night. When you opened your eyes again, the flames in the fireplace had changed. For just a moment, they formed the shape of a tiny cabin standing alone beside a frozen lake. Warm light glowed from its windows. Smoke drifted lazily upward. Then the image disappeared back into dancing firelight. Evelyn smiled. The fire enjoys remembering old winters. She carefully closed the book. The last tiny snowflake drifted gently onto the wooden table before melting into a point of golden light. Outside, the snowfall became even softer, barely more than a whisper. You noticed a narrow staircase at the far end of the cottage. Its wooden railing was wrapped with evergreen garlands and tiny glowing lanterns. At the top waited another beautifully carved door. Its surface displayed stars, snow-covered mountains, and a winding path leading toward a warm cabin beneath the moon. Above it hung a wooden sign. It read, "The Fireplace Collection." Evelyn rose slowly, wrapping her shawl a little closer around her shoulders. "There are many fireplaces in the hidden bookshop," she said with a gentle smile. "But each one remembers a different kind of home." You stood, taking one last look at the peaceful winter room. The fire continued its quiet dance. Snowflakes drifted lazily beyond the frosted windows. The comforting scent of cedar and cinnamon lingered in the air. Together, you climbed the staircase toward the softly glowing doorway. Behind you, the room of winter tales settled once more into its timeless silence, waiting patiently for the next traveler who might need the comfort of a peaceful winter night. The wooden staircase curved gently upward. With every step, the scent of cedar and cinnamon slowly blended with another comforting fragrance. Old oak, freshly brewed tea, a hint of vanilla, and the unmistakable warmth of wood that had been gently warmed by countless peaceful fires. The little brass watch rested quietly in your pocket. The blank page from the garden between pages remained safely folded beside it. For just a moment, you thought you felt both of them grow slightly warmer, almost as though they, too, were looking forward to what waited ahead. Evelyn reached the top of the staircase. She placed her hand upon the carved wooden door. Tiny stars and snow-covered cottages had been carved into its surface with remarkable care. Beneath your fingertips, the wood felt smooth and comforting. The door opened. Immediately, warmth wrapped gently around you. Not the sudden heat of summer sunlight, but the quiet warmth of arriving home after a long walk beneath the winter sky. You stepped inside. The room was enormous, larger than any fireplace hall you could have imagined. Hundreds of fireplaces stretched gently around the circular walls. Every one was different. Some were carved from pale limestone, others from dark river stone. A few were built from polished red brick, their mantels decorated with candles and tiny potted plants. Several were framed with polished oak. One was surrounded by shelves overflowing with old books. Another stood beneath a stained glass window where moonlight painted soft colors across the floor. None of the fires burned brightly. Instead, every flame moved with a calm, peaceful rhythm. Gentle, patient, steady. The crackling blended together into a quiet melody. No single fireplace demanded attention. Together, they filled the room with perfect harmony. Comfortable chairs waited before every hearth. Each chair carried a folded blanket, a small side table, a teacup, sometimes an unfinished book, sometimes a pair of reading glasses, sometimes nothing at all. It felt as though every seat had been quietly prepared for someone who simply needed to rest. You wandered slowly through the room. Every fireplace seemed to tell a different story. One smelled faintly of apple pie and cinnamon. Another carried the fragrance of pine forests after fresh snow. A third reminded you of rain falling gently upon an old cottage roof. Yet another smelled of warm bread cooling beside a kitchen window. Each scent awakened a peaceful feeling rather than a specific memory. You found yourself breathing more slowly. The warmth settled comfortably around your shoulders. The entire room seemed to encourage stillness. Evelyn stopped beside a fireplace built from smooth white stone. Above its mantel rested a single framed painting. It showed nothing more than a quiet reading chair beside an open window. Outside, gentle rain blurred the garden beyond. The painting never moved. Yet somehow, you could almost hear the rain. "This fireplace," Evelyn whispered, "belongs to rainy afternoons." She smiled softly. "Many visitors stay here for hours." A little farther along stood another hearth. Its mantel displayed tiny carved pine cones. Evergreen branches framed the warm flames. The air carried the peaceful scent of mountain forests. Somewhere, almost too quietly to notice, you heard the distant ringing of sheep bells drifting through snowy hills. "This one remembers winter mornings." Evelyn's voice blended naturally with the crackling fire. You continued your gentle walk. There seemed to be a fireplace for every peaceful season. Spring fireplaces filled with birdsong. Summer fireplaces scented with blooming lavender. Autumn fireplaces surrounded by softly falling leaves. Winter fireplaces glowing beneath blankets of fresh snow. The hidden bookshop had somehow gathered every comforting feeling into one quiet room. At the center of the hall stood the oldest fireplace of all. Its stones were worn smooth with age. The flames burned lower than the others. Golden, steady, almost whispering. Above the mantel rested no paintings, no decorations, only a simple wooden sign. It read, "Every home begins with warmth." You sat upon the chair waiting beside it. The cushion welcomed you gently. A knitted blanket rested across your lap. The fire crackled softly. Somewhere, inside the flames, tiny sparks floated upward before fading into the chimney. You watched them lazily. One spark became a little lantern. Another transformed into a drifting feather. A third looked almost like a tiny paper boat floating toward the stars. None lasted more than a few moments. Each disappeared peacefully. Evelyn poured another cup of tea. This one carried the delicate fragrance of honey, chamomile, and a touch of orange blossom. The warmth of the cup settled comfortably into your hands. "You know," Evelyn said quietly, "people often believe warmth comes from fire." She looked into the glowing embers. "But warmth also comes from kindness, from quiet conversations, from welcoming places, from stories shared without hurry." Her words rested gently in the silence. The fire answered with one soft crackle. Outside the tall arched windows, snow continued to fall across the hidden gardens of the bookshop. Everything beyond the glass shimmered beneath silver moonlight. Time seemed to move no faster than the drifting snowflakes. After a long, peaceful pause, something unusual caught your attention. Behind the oldest fireplace, hidden within the stonework, a narrow doorway slowly appeared. You were certain it had not been there before. Its arch was formed from polished driftwood and pale seashells. Soft blue lanterns glowed on either side. A cool breeze drifted gently through the opening. It carried the calming scent of salt air, seagrass, and distant waves. Above the arch hung a weathered wooden sign. Its graceful letters had been carved long ago. They read, "The Book of Ocean Breezes." Evelyn smiled as though greeting an old friend. "The sea," she whispered, "has always known how to tell the slowest stories." She rose from her chair and walked toward the softly glowing doorway. You followed at the same peaceful pace. Behind you, hundreds of quiet fireplaces continued their gentle conversation with the night, their warm light forever waiting for every traveler who needed a place to rest. The driftwood doorway stood quietly open. Soft blue lanterns swayed on either side, casting gentle reflections across the polished floor behind you. As you stepped through, the comforting warmth of the fireplaces slowly faded. In its place came another kind of comfort, the cool breath of the sea. It carried the scent of salt air, smooth driftwood, seagrass warmed by the afternoon sun, and the faint sweetness of blooming coastal flowers. The narrow passage curved gently ahead. Its walls were formed from pale stone, polished by time until the final page of the Book of Ocean Breezes closed with the softest whisper. For a long moment, neither you nor Evelyn moved. The quiet sound of distant waves lingered in the room, as though the sea itself had followed you into the hidden bookshop. The little seashell resting in your pocket felt pleasantly warm beside the brass watch and the folded blank page. Each small gift seemed to carry the memory of every peaceful place you had visited. Then, almost silently, a nearby curtain stirred. A cool silver breeze drifted through the room. It carried the fragrance of moonflowers, jasmine, fresh night air, and a hint of lavender from gardens somewhere below. Evelyn looked toward an elegant pair of glass doors. Their frames were carved from pale oak, decorated with tiny crescent moons, sleeping birds, and delicate climbing vines. Above them hung a small lantern glowing with soft silver light. "The balcony is awake," she whispered. She opened the doors. Immediately, the quiet night welcomed you. You stepped outside. The balcony stretched in a graceful curve around the upper level of the hidden bookshop. Its smooth stone floor shimmered beneath the moonlight. White marble columns rose toward the star-filled sky, their surfaces wrapped with flowering ivy. Tiny lanterns floated lazily between the columns. Their warm amber glow blended beautifully with the cool silver light of the moon. Far below, the hidden gardens rested peacefully. You could just make out the winding paths of the garden between pages. The gentle ribbon of the river of stories reflected the stars. Beyond the gardens, the glass roof of the greenhouse of quiet dreams sparkled like crystal. Every place you had visited seemed connected from above, like chapters of one endless, gentle story. You rested your hands upon the smooth stone railing. The night stretched endlessly before you. The moon hung low above distant hills, full and radiant. Its light bathed everything in quiet silver. Clouds drifted slowly across the sky. Not enough to hide the stars, only enough to make them appear and disappear like tiny lanterns behind delicate curtains. You took a slow breath. The cool air felt wonderfully fresh. Somewhere nearby, wind chimes sang softly. Their gentle notes rose and faded with the breeze. Not a melody, not a song, simply peaceful sounds carried by the night. Evelyn stood beside you without speaking. She understood that some places asked for silence more than conversation. Minutes passed comfortably, perhaps longer. Time no longer seemed interested in counting itself. At the far corner of the balcony stood an old wooden telescope, smaller than the one inside the observatory of gentle stars. Its polished brass reflected the moonlight. Beside it rested a simple notebook bound in pale blue linen. No title appeared on its cover, only a tiny silver crescent moon. You opened it carefully. Every page was blank, until moonlight touched the paper. Slowly, graceful handwriting appeared. The moon never rushes across the sky, yet it always arrives exactly when it is needed. The words glowed softly before fading once again. The page became blank. You smiled quietly. "It only writes beneath the moon," Evelyn said. "Some books prefer sunlight. This one belongs to the night." You closed the notebook and looked once more across the peaceful landscape. Far below, dozens of tiny lanterns drifted through the gardens. Some floated above the river. Others rested beneath ancient trees. A few wandered quietly along winding paths, as though they were searching for someone who might need a little light. Beyond the balcony stretched rolling hills covered in silver grass. The breeze moved gently across them, creating slow waves that shimmered beneath the moon. The sight reminded you of the sea. Quiet, steady, endless. A white owl glided silently overhead. Its wings made no sound. It circled the balcony once before disappearing into the starlit sky. Only a single white feather drifted gently downward. It landed softly upon the railing beside you. The feather glowed faintly for a moment before becoming still. Evelyn picked it up carefully. In the hidden bookshop, she whispered, "Every feather is a quiet reminder. A reminder that even the lightest things can carry us forward." She placed the feather inside your hand. It felt impossibly soft. You tucked it safely beside the seashell, the brass watch, and the folded blank page. Your small collection of gentle memories had grown. The balcony became even quieter. The lanterns swayed almost imperceptibly. The wind chimes answered the breeze. The moon climbed a little higher into the sky. Then, from the far end of the balcony, another light appeared. Not silver, not golden. A soft violet glow. It shone from a narrow spiral staircase hidden behind flowering vines. Tiny crystal lanterns floated above each step, illuminating the way without disturbing the darkness. At the top of the staircase stood a beautifully carved archway of white stone. Moonflowers climbed gracefully around its edges. Above the arch hung a weathered wooden sign. Its elegant letters shimmered in the moonlight. They read, "The last lantern before dawn." Evelyn looked toward the staircase with a gentle smile. "We are drawing closer to the end of tonight's journey." She paused, letting the quiet settle once more. But every ending inside the hidden bookshop is simply another peaceful beginning. Together, beneath the silver moon and the endless stars, you walk slowly toward the softly glowing staircase. Behind you, the moonlit balcony remained wrapped in timeless silence. A place where the night would always wait patiently for anyone who wished to pause, breathe, and simply watch the stars. The spiral staircase welcomed each step with quiet patience. Tiny crystal lanterns floated beside the curved railing, their soft violet light blending gently with the fading silver glow of the moon. The night felt deeper now. Not darker, only quieter. As though the hidden bookshop itself had settled into its final peaceful hours before dawn. The white feather rested safely beside the little seashell, the brass watch, and the folded blank page in your pocket. Each small treasure carried the memory of a place you had visited. Each seemed to grow a little warmer as you climbed. At the top of the staircase, the moonflower-covered arch stood open. Beyond it stretched a long gallery lined with tall windows. Outside, the stars still shimmered peacefully. Inside, the air carried the comforting scent of old paper. Cedar shelves, lavender, and warm candle wax. Nothing disturbed the silence except the soft flutter of pages turning somewhere far ahead. You followed the sound beside Evelyn. The gallery gradually widened into a beautiful reading hall unlike any you had seen before. Rows of comfortable armchairs rested beside softly glowing lanterns. Round oak tables held steaming teapots that never seemed to cool. Blankets lay folded neatly over every chair. Tall bookshelves curved gently around the room like protective walls. Every book waited patiently. None demanded to be opened. The room felt as though it trusted every visitor to choose their own quiet moment. Near the center of the hall stood a single chair facing the fireplace. Someone was already sitting there. An elderly traveler. His silver hair reflected the firelight. A long wool coat rested comfortably around his shoulders. A walking stick leaned against the arm of his chair. In his hands rested a closed book tied with a faded blue ribbon. He looked toward the flames with a peaceful smile. For several moments, no one spoke. The silence felt welcoming, as though introductions could wait. Finally, the old traveler turned gently toward you. His eyes were kind, bright with the quiet warmth of someone who had watched many seasons pass. "You've come a long way," he said softly. His voice carried the calm rhythm of falling snow. You smiled. "So have you." The old traveler nodded. "I visit once every year." He looked around the reading hall with gentle affection. The bookshop never looks exactly the same, but it always feels like home. Evelyn smiled warmly. "It remembers you." He chuckled quietly. Perhaps. Or perhaps I remember it. The fire crackled softly between you. Outside the windows, a gentle breeze moved through the hidden gardens below. The lanterns along the pathways shimmered like tiny stars resting upon the earth. The old traveler untied the faded blue ribbon around his book. He opened it carefully. Inside, there were no written stories. Instead, pressed between its pages rested small keepsakes. A tiny maple leaf, a dried lavender blossom, a smooth white pebble, a little feather, a pressed fern, a seashell. Each rested quietly upon its own page. He touched the lavender blossom with one fingertip. I found this here many years ago. He smiled. I was much younger then. He turned another page. The smooth white pebble caught the firelight. This one came from the river of stories. Another page. A feather. The observatory gifted me this. You looked quietly at your own pocket. Without saying a word. You understood. The bookshop offered different gifts to every traveler. Yet every gift carried the same gentle purpose. To help someone remember peace. The old traveler closed his book. You'll return someday. He spoke as though stating something as natural as sunrise. Everyone who walks slowly enough eventually finds their way back. His words settled softly into the room. No promise was needed. No explanation. Only quiet understanding. The fire continued its slow dance. Evelyn poured 3 cups of warm tea. Chamomile. Honey. A touch of lemon blossom. The fragrance drifted lazily through the reading hall. Together, the 3 of you shared the peaceful silence. Not once did anyone feel the need to hurry the moment. After a while, the old traveler rose carefully. He picked up his walking stick. His movements were slow but steady. He walked toward a nearby window overlooking the gardens. The eastern horizon had begun to change. Very faintly. The deepest blue of night softened toward pale gray. Not dawn yet. Only the first gentle promise that morning would eventually arrive. The old traveler smiled. My visit is almost finished. He turned toward you. Before leaving, he reached into his coat pocket. From it, he removed a small brass bookmark shaped like a single oak leaf. Its surface was beautifully engraved with tiny stars. He placed it gently into your hand. It doesn't keep your place in a book, he said with a smile. It keeps your place in a peaceful memory. The little oak leaf felt warm against your fingertips. You slipped it carefully beside the other keepsakes you had collected. The old traveler gave one final nod to Evelyn. One final smile to you. Then he walked slowly toward an ancient wooden door at the far end of the hall. Morning light glowed softly beneath it. The door opened without a sound. Warm golden light welcomed him. He stepped through. The door closed gently behind him. The room became wonderfully still once more. You looked toward Evelyn. Will I ever see him again? She smiled thoughtfully. Perhaps. The hidden bookshop has a beautiful habit. It introduces people only when the time feels right. You stood together beside the quiet fireplace. Outside, the stars remained visible. Yet the sky had begun its slow journey toward dawn. Far across the reading hall, another doorway appeared where there had only been shelves before. Its frame was carved from pale oak and decorated with tiny lanterns. Above it hung one final wooden sign. Its graceful lettering glowed softly. It read, "The first light of morning." Evelyn looked toward it with calm, gentle eyes. "I believe," she whispered, "our final chapter is waiting." Together, you walked slowly toward the softly glowing doorway. Behind you, the reading hall welcomed another quiet silence. Patiently waiting for the next traveler who might one day become the last visitor of the night. The doorway marked the first light of morning opened with the gentlest sigh. A soft, golden glow spilled across the wooden floor, blending with the last silver light of the fading moon. You followed Evelyn through the doorway. Behind you, the quiet reading hall disappeared into peaceful silence. Ahead stretched a long corridor unlike any you had seen before. Its walls were lined with tall oak shelves. But these shelves held no books. Instead, They displayed simple treasures: a tiny lantern with a cracked glass panel, a smooth river stone, a dried sprig of lavender, an old brass key, a folded paper boat, a feather white as fresh snow, a small seashell resting upon blue velvet. Every object was carefully placed beneath warm lantern light. None carried a label. None needed one. Each seemed to remember its own story. The corridor felt less like a museum, and more like a place where kindness had quietly been collected through the years. You slowed your steps. The little brass watch in your pocket gave a faint, comforting warmth. The oak leaf bookmark rested beside it. So did the blank page, the seashell, and the white feather. You smiled. Your own collection had quietly begun. At the end of the corridor stood a round wooden door. It was carved from a single piece of ancient oak. Tiny stars, leaves, and open books circled its edges. In its center rested a polished brass handle shaped like a lantern. Evelyn paused before opening it. Her smile was gentle. "There is one place," she whispered, "that every visitor reaches, but only at the very end." She turned the handle. The door opened without a sound. Beyond it waited a circular room bathed in the warm glow of dawn-colored lanterns. The ceiling rose high above like the inside of an old observatory. Wooden beams curved gracefully overhead. Thousands of tiny lanterns floated beneath them, each glowing softly. At the center of the room stood an enormous desk made from polished walnut. It was beautifully simple. No clutter. No stacks of papers. Only a single open book. Beside it rested a fountain pen carved from pale wood. A small glass bottle of golden ink reflected the lantern light. Everything felt wonderfully calm. Behind the desk stood an elderly woman. Her silver hair was gathered neatly beneath a simple linen scarf. She wore a long forest green robe with tiny embroidered stars along the sleeves. Her eyes were warm, peaceful, kind. She looked at you as though she had always expected this meeting. Evelyn smiled. "The keeper." The woman inclined her head. "Welcome." Her voice carried the softness of rain falling upon leaves. No louder than necessary. No quieter than comforting. You stepped forward. The keeper closed the open book with gentle care. "I have been looking after the hidden bookshop for many years." She rested one hand lightly upon its cover. "Though I never truly think of it as keeping." She smiled. "I simply help it remember." You looked around the circular room. Every lantern overhead glowed with a slightly different shade of gold. Some shone like sunrise. Others resembled candlelight. A few glowed almost white. Each seemed peaceful in its own way. The keeper noticed your curiosity. Every lantern holds a quiet memory. She looked upward. Not great achievements. Not loud celebrations. Only peaceful moments. A grandfather reading aloud beside the fire. A child watching snow fall for the first time. A traveler resting beneath an old oak tree. A friend quietly pouring another cup of tea. She smiled again. The smallest moments often shine the longest. The room fell into comfortable silence. Then she reached for the fountain pen. She dipped it gently into the bottle of golden ink. Without asking your name, she began to write. The nib moved slowly across the page. Elegant golden letters appeared. Not hurried. Not delayed. Simply at the perfect pace. When she finished, she turned the book toward you. Only one sentence had been written. A peaceful heart has found another peaceful path. You looked at the words for several quiet moments. Something about them felt familiar. Almost as though they had been waiting long before you arrived. The keeper closed the book once more. It records only journeys that change someone gently. She carefully placed the pen back beside the ink. Then she opened a small wooden drawer. Inside rested dozens of tiny lanterns, each no larger than the palm of your hand. Some glowed softly. Others waited quietly without light. She selected one simple lantern made of polished brass. Its tiny glass windows were perfectly clear. She placed it gently into your hands. "This belongs to you now." You looked inside. No candle burned within it. The keeper smiled knowingly. It is not empty. It waits. It will glow whenever you remember a quiet moment with gratitude. The lantern felt surprisingly warm. You held it carefully, not wanting to disturb its peaceful stillness. Outside the tall windows, the first faint colors of dawn had begun to touch the distant hills. Soft blue, gentle lavender, hints of pale gold. The night was slowly giving way to morning. The keeper walked toward one final doorway hidden behind a curtain of climbing ivy. Sunlight glowed faintly beneath it. Above the doorway hung a small wooden plaque. Its graceful letters read, "The Path Home." She looked back at you. Every visitor wonders whether the hidden bookshop is a real place. She smiled. The better question is whether they carry it home. Evelyn nodded quietly. No more words were needed. Together you stepped toward the final doorway. Behind you, the keeper remained beside her great book. The lanterns above continued glowing softly, patiently, peacefully, ready to remember the next quiet heart that one day found its way through the hidden door. The small brass lantern rested gently in your hands. Its clear glass reflected the first pale colors of morning that filtered through the tall windows. Though no flame burned inside, it felt quietly alive. Warm, comforting, as if it recognized every peaceful memory you had gathered throughout your journey. The keeper stood beside the great walnut desk, watching with kind and patient eyes. Evelyn remained near the ivy-covered doorway marked the path home. Neither of them hurried you. The hidden bookshop had never rushed a single moment. The room itself seemed to breathe in slow, gentle rhythms. Above, thousands of tiny lanterns floated beneath the curved wooden ceiling. Some brightened ever so slightly. Others dimmed like stars preparing to rest before sunrise. Outside the windows, birds had begun greeting the coming morning. Their songs were soft and unhurried. The first robin, a distant thrush, the gentle cooing of doves hidden among ivy-covered branches. Their voices blended perfectly with the quiet silence inside the chamber. The keeper smiled. There is one last tradition. She reached beneath the desk and lifted a small wooden box. It was made from pale oak, polished smooth by many careful hands. Tiny stars had been carved across its lid. She placed it before you. Would you open it? You lifted the lid slowly. Inside rested a single book. Unlike every other volume in the hidden bookshop, this one had no title upon its cover. Its binding was deep midnight blue. Silver thread stitched delicate constellations across the leather. When you touched it, the cover felt pleasantly warm, almost familiar. The keeper nodded gently. It has been waiting. You opened the book. The first pages were blank, perfectly still. Then, as a beam of early morning light reached across the desk, delicate golden letters began appearing one by one. Not all at once. Slowly, patiently, as though the book enjoyed writing as much as it enjoyed remembering. The first line appeared. Every peaceful journey begins with a single quiet step. You smiled. Another line followed. A lantern waiting in the rain. A garden blooming beneath the moon. A river carrying whispered stories. A winter room filled with gentle firelight. An ocean breeze turning silent pages. A balcony where the stars watched without speaking. Each sentence reminded you of somewhere you had visited, not by naming the places, but by recalling the feelings they had given you. The pages continued filling. The observatory, the dream tree, the whispering shelves, the story blossoms, the warm fireplace collection, the last visitor. Every chapter quietly found its place. The book was writing your journey, not exactly as it had happened, but exactly as it had been felt. When the final line appeared, the golden ink rested quietly. The page became still. At the bottom of the chapter, only a single sentence remained. No peaceful story is ever truly finished. You looked toward the keeper. She nodded softly. The last chapter always understands something. It knows that endings are simply gentle places where new journeys pause before beginning again. She closed the book with great care. Instead of placing it back inside the wooden box, she handed it to you. You hesitated. But isn't this part of the bookshop? She smiled warmly. So are you. The room became wonderfully quiet. The floating lanterns shimmered above. The first rays of sunrise slowly replaced the fading stars beyond the windows. Evelyn walked to the nearest window. The hidden gardens below glowed with fresh morning dew. The river of stories reflected ribbons of pale gold. Mist drifted gently across the meadows. Everything looked softer than before, as though dawn itself had turned another page. The keeper walked toward one of the tall bookshelves. She gently touched its polished wood. A hidden panel slid aside. Behind it rested dozens of empty shelves, not abandoned, waiting. She looked back at you. One day, someone else will arrive carrying their own quiet memories. When they do, the hidden bookshop will begin writing again. You slipped the midnight blue book carefully beneath your arm. The little lantern remained in your other hand. Your pocket still held the white feather, the seashell, the brass watch, the oak leaf bookmark, and the folded blank page. None of them felt like souvenirs. They felt like promises. Small reminders that peaceful moments could be found anywhere, even far beyond these walls. A warm breeze drifted gently through the open windows. It carried the scent of fresh grass, dew-covered roses, and the first blossoms of morning. The keeper looked toward the doorway marked the path home. Her smile held both welcome and farewell. I believe, she whispered, one final walk remains. Beyond the doorway, soft golden light stretched along a quiet path lined with flowering trees. At its far end, another sign could just be seen through the morning mist. Its graceful lettering shimmered beneath the rising sun. It read, "Home carries every story." Together, you and Evelyn stepped toward the gentle light. Behind you, the keeper remained beside the floating lanterns, watching another peaceful chapter find its place among countless others. The path beyond the doorway welcomed you with quiet morning light. Soft, golden rays filtered through rows of flowering trees, touching the dew that rested upon every leaf and blade of grass. The hidden bookshop lay peacefully behind you. From this distance, it seemed smaller than before. Its tall windows reflected the colors of dawn. Its lanterns still glowed gently inside, though their light now blended with the growing brightness of morning. You and Evelyn walked side by side along the winding stone path. Neither of you spoke. The silence felt full, not empty. It carried every peaceful place you had visited. The whispering shelves, the garden between pages, the river of stories, the observatory of gentle stars, the warm fireplace collection, the room of winter tales, the moonlit balcony. Each memory rested quietly within you, like pages carefully placed inside a cherished book. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. Cherry blossoms drifted slowly across the path. Some landed softly at your feet. Others floated onward, carried wherever the morning wished them to go. The little brass lantern in your hand remained warm. Its tiny glass windows now held the faintest glow. Not bright enough to shine upon the path, only enough to remind you it was still there. Evelyn noticed. It has begun. You looked at her. The lantern doesn't grow brighter because the world becomes darker. She smiled. It glows because you remember. You continued walking. Soon the path opened into a quiet clearing. At its center stood a small stone cottage. Its roof was covered with climbing roses. Morning ivy curled around the windows. A single wooden bench rested beneath an ancient apple tree. Beside the bench stood a little round table. Upon it rested one simple candle. Its flame was small, steady, peaceful. It neither flickered nor struggled against the breeze. Instead, it burned with calm confidence. Evelyn approached the table. She looked at the candle for a long moment before speaking. Every traveler pauses here. She sat upon the wooden bench. You joined her. The candle continued its quiet dance. Its warm light seemed almost unnecessary beneath the brightening morning sky. Yet somehow, It made the clearing feel even more peaceful. The fragrance of warm beeswax blended with the scent of fresh grass and blooming roses. Birds sang softly in the branches overhead. A robin landed nearby, tilted its head curiously, then fluttered away again. You watched the little flame. It reminded you of every lantern you had seen throughout the hidden bookshop. The floating lights. The paper boats upon the river. The fireplace embers. The stars above the observatory. Every gentle glow had quietly led you here. After a comfortable silence, Evelyn spoke. People often think the purpose of a candle is to burn forever. She gently shook her head. But that was never its purpose. She looked at the tiny flame. Its purpose is simply to offer light while it can. The words rested peacefully in the morning air. The candle continued burning. Slowly. Gracefully. The wax melted almost invisibly. Not because it was disappearing, but because it was giving. A warm breeze drifted through the clearing. The flame leaned gently for just a moment, then stood upright once more. Steady, patient, comforting. You reached into your pocket. One by one. You touched the little treasures you had gathered. The brass watch. The blank page. The seashell. The white feather. The oak leaf bookmark. Each one carried a quiet memory. Each one reminded you that peaceful moments were often small enough to fit inside the palm of your hand. Evelyn noticed your smile. The bookshop never asks anyone to remember everything. It only hopes they'll remember one peaceful moment. Whenever the world feels too hurried, the candle burned a little lower. Its flame remained warm. Its light remained gentle. Nothing about it felt sad, only complete. Nearby, a narrow stream wandered through the clearing. Its water reflected both the candlelight and the growing daylight together. For a brief moment, neither light seemed stronger. They simply existed side by side. Night and morning. Memory and hope. Journey and home. You watched until the reflections slowly drifted away with the current. The breeze carried another shower of apple blossoms across the grass. The petals circled the little candle before settling gently upon the earth. Then something curious happened. The lantern in your hand brightened ever so slightly. Not because the candle was fading, but because the morning had arrived. Its warm glow no longer depended on darkness. It had become part of you. Evelyn rose from the bench. She looked toward the far end of the clearing. There, beneath an arch of flowering apple branches, stood one final gate. It was beautifully simple. White painted wood. No lock. No key. Only an open path beyond it. Above the gate hung a small wooden sign. Its graceful letters shimmered in the soft morning sun. They read, "The Morning Path." Evelyn smiled with quiet affection. "There is only one chapter left." Her voice was almost a whisper. But remember, the gentlest stories never truly say goodbye. Together, carrying the softly glowing lantern, you walked toward the white gate. Behind you, the little candle continued burning peacefully beneath the apple tree, its gentle flame growing smaller, yet somehow making the morning feel brighter than ever. The white gate stood quietly open. Beyond it, the morning path stretched through a meadow touched by the first gentle light of dawn. The grass shimmered with tiny drops of dew. Wildflowers nodded softly in the breeze. Somewhere in the distance, a stream continued its peaceful song. You stepped forward beside Evelyn. Behind you, the little candle beneath the apple tree still glowed faintly. Its flame had grown smaller, yet it remained steady. There was something comforting in that. The hidden bookshop had never been a place of bright lights. It had always preferred quiet ones. The brass lantern in your hand glowed with a warm golden light. Not enough to outshine the morning. Only enough to remind you that gentle things did not need to be brilliant to be beautiful. The meadow curved gently upward toward a low hill. At its summit stood a single wooden bench facing the distant horizon. The path led you there without hurry. Every step felt lighter than the one before. The air smelled of fresh grass, morning dew, wild mint, and blooming daisies. The sky continued changing. The deepest blue of night faded into soft lavender. Lavender became pale gold. Gold slowly welcomed the gentle warmth of sunrise. Above, only a handful of stars still remained. One by one, they quietly disappeared into the brightening sky. Not because they had gone away, simply because the morning had arrived. Evelyn sat upon the bench. You joined her. From the hilltop, you could see nearly everything. The winding river of stories, the silver roof of the greenhouse of quiet dreams, the ancient towers of the observatory, the gardens, the lantern paths, the peaceful forest beyond, and nestled gently among the trees, the hidden bookshop. Its windows still glowed softly. Smoke rose lazily from a single chimney. For a moment, it looked exactly as it had when you first arrived, as though every chapter had happened in the space between two quiet breaths. A breeze drifted across the hill. It carried the familiar sense of cedar wood, old paper, lavender, cinnamon, pine, sea air, and warm tea. Every fragrance from your journey returned together for one brief, beautiful moment. You closed your eyes. You breathed slowly. The memories came not as pictures, but as feelings. The peaceful whisper of turning pages. The gentle rocking of the boat upon the river of stories. Snow falling outside the winter room. The crackling fireplaces. Moonlight upon the balcony. Ocean waves breathing against quiet shores. The observatory where the stars told stories without words. Every place still lived gently inside your heart. When you opened your eyes again, something extraordinary was happening. The hidden bookshop had begun to glow. Not brightly, softly. Its windows became warm lanterns. Its rooftops shimmered beneath the rising sun. Tiny lights floated upward from its chimneys like glowing fireflies. They drifted slowly into the morning sky, one by one, without hurry, without sound. You watched quietly. So this is goodbye? You asked? Evelyn smiled. I don't think the bookshop likes that word. She looked toward the glowing building. It simply says, good night. As though answering her, one final lantern floated gently upward. It rose higher than all the others. For a brief moment, it paused above the roof. Then its warm golden light slowly blended into the colors of dawn. The bookshop no longer needed lanterns. Morning had arrived. The building remained peaceful, patient, hidden among the trees once more. Anyone passing nearby might think it was only an old house surrounded by gardens. They would never guess how many quiet stories rested inside. Unless they happened to be walking slowly enough. The little lantern in your hands gave one gentle glow. Then its light settled into a calm warmth. It no longer needed to shine outward. It had already found its place within you. Evelyn rose from the bench. She looked toward the winding path leading beyond the meadow. I won't walk much farther. You understood. Some journeys were meant to continue alone. She reached into the pocket of her long green coat. From it, she removed a tiny pressed moonflower. Its petals shimmered faintly with silver light. She placed it carefully inside the pages of your midnight blue book. So you'll always remember that quiet places have a way of finding those who need them. The breeze carried another handful of flower petals across the hill. They circled gently around the bench before drifting toward the hidden bookshop below. The morning birds sang a little more brightly now. Sunlight reached the tops of the distant trees. The valley slowly awakened. Yet the peaceful silence remained. Because some silences belong to the heart, not the world. Far beyond the meadow, where the morning path disappeared into golden light, stood one final wooden arch. Simple, graceful, wrapped in flowering vines. Above it hung the smallest sign you had seen since entering the hidden bookshop. Its gentle lettering read, "Until we meet again." Evelyn looked toward it and smiled. There is one final page. After that, the story belongs to you. Together you walked toward the quiet arch. Behind you, the hidden bookshop rested peacefully beneath the morning sky. Its lanterns asleep. Its stories waiting. its heart softly whispering to every traveler, "Good night." The little wooden arch stood quietly before you. Its flowering vines glistened with morning dew, and the words carved across its weathered beams seemed to glow softly beneath the rising sun. "Until we meet again." You paused for one last moment. Behind you, the hidden bookshop rested peacefully among the trees. Its lanterns had grown still. Its windows reflected the gentle colors of dawn. From this distance, it looked like an ordinary old bookshop waiting for another quiet day. Only you knew how many gentle wonders lived inside. A soft breeze drifted through the meadow. It carried every familiar fragrance one final time. Old paper, cedarwood, lavender, fresh rain, warm tea, ocean air, pine forests, snow, apple blossoms. They blended together like the closing notes of a beautiful lullaby. You stepped beneath the arch. The path beyond curved gently through fields of wildflowers sparkling with dew. Every blade of grass shimmered beneath the first golden rays of morning. Birds greeted the sunrise with quiet songs. Nothing hurried. Even the breeze seemed content to wander without destination. Evelyn walked beside you for a little while longer. Neither of you felt the need to speak. Some goodbyes were gentler when carried by silence. After several peaceful minutes, she slowed her steps. You did the same. She smiled with the same calm warmth she had carried since the very beginning of your journey. "The bookshop," she whispered, "never asks anyone to stay. It only hopes they leave carrying a little more peace than they brought with them." You looked down at the little brass lantern resting in your hands. It no longer glowed brightly. Instead, it held a quiet warmth. Steady, comforting, like the memory of a familiar voice. The midnight blue book rested safely beneath your arm. Inside its pages waited every peaceful chapter of your journey. The brass watch remained in your pocket beside the oak leaf bookmark, the white feather, the seashell, the blank page, and the pressed moonflower. None of them felt magical anymore. They felt natural, as though peaceful moments had always been simple enough to carry with you. Evelyn reached out and gently closed the cover of your midnight blue book. "When you open it again," she said softly, "don't search for these places. Simply remember how they made you feel." She stepped back. The morning light surrounded her gently. "I think you already know the way now." You smiled. "I think I do." She nodded once. No farewell. No dramatic goodbye. Only quiet understanding. Then she turned and began walking slowly back toward the hidden bookshop. Her green cloak moved gently in the morning breeze. With every step, she seemed to become part of the peaceful landscape. Soon, she disappeared among the flowering trees. The path ahead welcomed you onward. You continued walking alone. The meadow gradually opened into rolling hills bathed in warm sunlight. A narrow stream wandered beside the path. Butterflies drifted lazily above blooming wildflowers. Far away, a windmill turned slowly upon a quiet hill. Everything felt wonderfully familiar, as though the whole world had quietly become another room inside the hidden bookshop. You paused beside the stream. Its clear water reflected the blue morning sky. For just a moment, you thought you saw tiny lanterns floating beneath the surface. Then they became ordinary reflections of sunlight dancing upon the gentle current. You smiled. Some mysteries were happiest when left unexplained. You reached into your pocket one last time. The little brass watch felt warm. The oak leaf bookmark rested safely beside it. The seashells still carried the faint scent of the ocean. The white feather remained impossibly soft. The folded blank page waited patiently, and the tiny pressed moonflower rested inside your book, just as Evelyn had placed it. Together, they formed a quiet collection of ordinary things. Yet each one reminded you that even the smallest moments could become lasting treasures. The morning sun climbed a little higher. Its warmth settled gently across the hills. You found a smooth patch of grass beneath an old oak tree and sat down. The breeze whispered softly through the leaves overhead. The sound reminded you of pages turning. Not quickly. Not slowly. Simply at the perfect pace. You lean back against the sturdy trunk. The grass felt cool. The sunlight felt warm. The air smelled of wildflowers and fresh earth. Your breathing became slower, calmer. The peaceful rhythm of the morning wrapped gently around you. You closed your eyes. You could almost hear the crackling fireplaces once more. The quiet river. The whispering shelves. The observatory beneath the stars. The winter room. The ocean. Breeze. The balcony bathed in moonlight. The soft voices of kind travelers. Every chapter rested peacefully within you. No longer separate places. One beautiful journey. One gentle memory. Far away, a single bird sang. The stream continued its quiet song. The breeze turned another invisible page among the leaves. And somewhere, perhaps hidden beyond ordinary roads, perhaps waiting behind an unassuming wooden door, the hidden bookshop welcomed another traveler who needed a little peace. Its lanterns would glow again. Its shelves would whisper again. Its gardens would bloom again. Because gentle stories are never truly finished. They simply wait patiently until someone is ready to hear them. So now, as the warm morning holds you gently, as your breathing grows slower, as every thought drifts as lightly as a feather upon the breeze, may you carry the calm of the hidden bookshop wherever life takes you. May quiet moments always find you. May ordinary days reveal extraordinary peace. And whenever you close your eyes, may you remember that somewhere a lantern still glows. A page is quietly turning. A fireplace burns softly. And a peaceful story is waiting. Just for you. Sleep gently. Dream kindly. And rest beneath the quiet stars. Until another beautiful journey begins.